Uh, well, that was an epic fail. Oh no. I don't know why that. Welcome to Dip a Toe. I'm flying solo this evening. Simon has, if those, well, actually, let me play this for you guys. Our Simon has a message for all of you Dip-a-toers.
On everybody, Simon Says Crypto. Few announcements. I know some of you have already heard this, but I just want to make it publicly known that I will not be joining Alan on the Tuesday night IBC, nor will I be joining Melissa on the Dip-a-Toe Crypto Show on Wednesday nights, as I have returned back to my job. It's not exactly what I wanted to do, but it's needed and appreciated, very much appreciated. This will help out my personal life, my family, and it will give me the resources to keep on building and investing, so I can eventually come back to be with you guys on a regular basis. I will be putting out content on crypto and, of course, IBC, but until then, these are the deuces, and I'm cabooses.
All right. So Simon, as you can see, has returned to work. His work schedule conflicts with the timing of this show. We're going to figure some stuff out. We've done this before. Hopefully we'll record some shows, or he'll be able to pop in from time to time. But the show must go on. And tonight, thank you guys for joining us. We decided to do a little bit of a ladies' night. There's a lot of shows out there that have the gentleman of crypto. But this one tonight, we're going to have the ladies, and I have 4 of my good friends joining me this evening. We have Keda. Many of you know her. She's been on our show before. She knows a lot. She's been studying and researching for several years now and has been in the crypto space. So I always love to hear her perspective. We also have Brooke, and many of you may have seen her on Twitter. She's very fluent with the monetary system, the history of our monetary system, and kind of ties that in with where we're heading with the new transformation of the financial system. We have Stephanie, Island Go Stephanie. She's an actual developer. She's been building things for Cardano and different projects. She has a lot of knowledge in the digital asset space, and so I'm looking forward to talking with her. And then we have my good friend Amanda Jones, Miss Amanda Jones, my friend who is creating the building on the XRP ledger with the wandering footprint, and studying her butt off on how to do that, and learning about tokenomics and all that stuff. So I think this is going to be a real interesting show. There's so many things to talk about. I want to say hello to all of our beautiful friends. Rosemary, she's in the chat. She's going to hang out with us tonight. We got the new mindset. Toasty, Mr. Toasty. We got Mr. Simon Sales Crypto is in the house, working hard, listening on the JOB. And then we got Life with Glee. We love you. Thank you for coming. Big Watch Dude. Hello, World B. How are you? I'm doing fantastic. I appreciate you coming to the show. Tiara. That's another one of our lady friends who's been studying her butt off on this in this crypto space. So this ought to be a really good show. I'm going to start bringing the ladies in. Thank you to the 27 that are listening. If you'd please share this out and like and subscribe, hit that like button. But let's start adding these ladies. We got Stephanie, we got Brooke, we got Miss Keda, and we got Miss Optimistic Prime in the house. How are you doing, ladies?
Hi,
everybody.
Great.
Sorry,
Hey,
I'm
hey.
Very excited to be here.
I'm excited to be here too. I'm not showing my face today. I'm dealing with some allergy issues and my eyes are all icky. So you beautiful ladies, you got my.
Well, we appreciate that you're here. What I wanted to do is kind of go around the room, and we'll just start from the top with Stephanie, and then we'll go Brooke, Amanda, and then Keda. Tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of, what your background is, what you're working on in the crypto space, and just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, Stephanie.
Okay, my name's Stephanie. I'm Goodbye Island Ghost. I actually started out in the XRPL community. I'm very, very involved in the XRPL community. Got involved with XR Doge and their payment portal system. My identity had been stolen. Started doing started learning developer work a little bit more. Get into that later. But we entered a hackathon for a payment system on the XRPL. That was fantastic. We got recognition by Ripple. The problem was the smart contracts, the lack of data protection was a huge problem. So I started learning Cardano and got very involved, following a lot of Charles's whiteboards, learning some really cool stuff. And they launched a whole new blockchain, which is not on Cardano. It's Midnight. And we're in testnet now, but out of thousands of people that applied to be part of the DevNet, I was chosen and to represent the XRPL. So they've been teaching me zero knowledge proofs, and I'm looking to bring Midnight, and I was also a finalist for that hackathon, which I'm very proud of. But looking to bring zero knowledge proofs to the XRPL and payment systems, and that's about it.
That's awesome. I can't wait to pick your brain a little bit later on those things. I want to say hello to Kristen Deck. She says, hello, beautiful ladies. Welcome. Thank you for coming to the show. Brooke, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm super excited that you guys are all here. For those in our audience that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I guess I'll just go to like how I kind of found myself in this space because it's a little bit different of an angle than many people. So I felt like my journey took about a decade or over in the making because I kind of grew up in banking. It was my first job in high school. And so from a very early age, I was interested in money and it kind of became a hyper focus of mine. And then I was in my undergrad and university and the Great Recession was taking place. And I'm in all these economic courses and, reading different economic theories. And it was interesting because that was the first time where I'm like, something's not right here. And so I kind of spent the past few years since that time kind of unpacking what happened, but also going into the monetary system as a whole, our money, what makes money. There's a whole science behind money and currency, and those are two very technical terms, actually, money and currency. And so the fiat money system, debt, and so I also went into historical cycles, the rise and fall of empires, centered around their monetary system, their monetary policies. And what I found through reading a bunch of different voices and leaders, that there's nothing new under the sun, but there's something kind of new now. But the same old things are like happening around this new space. So all that to say, I thought crypto was all a scam until I had a friend like mining it. And I'm like, okay, I have some time. I'm going to dig into what this is. And Rosie Rio said, this is going to change money. And I was like, that's a really big statement. And when I unpacked that, I kind of went down the rabbit hole and there's a bunch of different theories. They all kind of traject into where I see all this going. And it includes war, geopolitical issues, BRICS, the dollar, stock market, bonds. I talk about that all. So.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It is.
Oh,
Scary.
I
It is
can't
scary.
wait to ask you more questions. Yeah, there's so many different ways that we can go with this conversation tonight. I do want to say hello to Tiara says how cool it is. Where it? It's so cool how we all come together to support each other in these spaces. We grow together. Amen. We absolutely do. We thank you. I'm Miss Amanda Jones, Optimistic Prime. How are you doing this
Hello.
evening?
I'm good. It's so nice to be back in a space with you guys. I missed you.
We missed you.
Yeah, I'm very excited that you're having this. Usually I have my Wandering Footprint calls tonight, so I just invited everybody to listen and watch this. So a little bit about my background. I live on a school bus, a schoolie named Optimistic Prime with my 3 kids and my husband, and we're going into our 7th year on the bus.
That's incredible.
And it's pretty crazy. I was meant to just be for the summer, so it's been quite the adjustment. Going through the past 5 years of the insanity that is this world, and you know all the plans we had changing and just adapting. And I think that that's really what caused me to get involved with crypto. Is I started building this project out before the apocalypse hit in 2020. I started building this vision I had of an ecosystem for homesteaders and providing home for the wanderers slash nomads, and an infrastructure for the homesteads to support each other, have people come and work on their land, basically an infrastructure for people like us. With the goal of owning our own land and supporting people like us. So yeah, that led me to create the Wandering Footprint. And then in 2020, I started imagining like the highest timeline and what could come from what the horribleness that was happening. And that led me into crypto. As soon as I learned about, the GameStop thing happened. And then that led me to say, okay, Amanda, knowledge is power. You need to learn these systems so that you're not left behind. Don't be afraid. So I just started learning, figuring out how to get the money on there and how to get it into this exchange and how the exchanges worked and what the fees were, and screenshotting, like, how much money do I lose when I send $20 from this account to this account, and just things like that. And then that led me into learning about DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, and the idea of turning the Wandering Footprint into that, which led me into this concept of I have an app called the Wandering Home Directory, which is essentially a space for people to share all of their things, whether it's a trade or a modality or crypto or products or your homesteads or whatever it is. And so I thought of an idea of having an internal marketplace with a token. So that led me to Stellar, because it's the easiest, cheapest, and fastest for somebody like me who doesn't have a lot of money. How can you, somebody with a telephone living on a bus, how can you leverage this change? And then that caused me to get involved more with the crypto community and listening to people, which led me really to Brooke and Maya with Fruition Productions and Echo. And then from there, I started seeing the potential for the XRPL, even though it was more expensive to create tokens and to work with it. I thought, okay, I heard in 2020 or 2021, I can't remember his name Quincy. Quincy said that he thought that XRPL was going to be for the bankers and that Stellar was going to be more for the people. And so I sort of ran with that idea. And then that just led me into where I am today. So I've created a meme token on the XRPL called the Blue Umbrella token, the butt token. They thought we were useless eaters, but and that led me to here. And Melissa and I have become really good friends through our connection with Crypto for Life with Jay's channel and doing the ladies' night there. And I've been really out of the crypto space since June. I haven't really done a lot. I share a little bit about the Blue Umbrella token, but I just haven't really, I've been doing the truthin' thing. So it's really nice to be back, and I'm excited about where this conversation goes tonight. Thanks for having me.
So happy to have you here. I'm excited where this chat's going to go later. I want to say hello to Mr. Marvin Davis, Mr. Big Watch Dude, NFT Tempo is here, and Gina 777. Our friend Gina is here. Thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate you. Finally, we have our lovely Keda, one of my besties. Tell the audience now. You guys know on Dip a Toe, Keda has co-hosted with me several times, and we've interviewed her before. And she has her own show on Spaces on Thursday nights called "Keeping It 100 with Keda and the Crew," and I dip my toe over there on Thursday nights as well. Keda, for those of you who aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So, I'm Keda. Hello, everybody. Um, First of all, thank you so much for having me. As always, Melissa, you know, I always love to chop it up with you and have a good conversation. And ladies, it is an absolute honor to be here. Optimistic, we have definitely met before, as well as Island Ghost Stephanie. We were on with Melissa as well. So, Brooke, this is the first time I've gotten a chance to have a conversation with you, and I love being able to chat and talk. It's always good to have good information. Um, by trade, I'm a nurse. I've been one for about 6 years, second career for me. And shortly after I had traveled for a little bit, I was away for about a year, travel nursing. My sister had kind of just told me, hey, there's this thing, and you need to kind of get on it, and you need to find out what XRP is. And she said it's going to be huge. And I know my sister wouldn't steer me wrong. So I just went, feet first in and bought some XRP. Had no idea really what it was. It's a little glitchy. Uh-oh. Can y'all hear me? Can you
Yep,
hear me now?
yep,
Okay,
we
cool.
can.
Um, so I didn't really know much about the space at all. I didn't know anything about digital assets, cryptocurrencies, or anything of the sort. So I kind of, just went head first. And then in trying to do what most people do, which is go on YouTube and YouTube University and try and learn as much as you can. Um, I came upon, a bunch of different, content creators, everybody from Moon Lambo to digital perspectives and digital asset and, investors and all of those
Incredible.
things. And then fell upon T's crypto spot.
Mm,
And once I found T, he put it in such a way that I was able to understand it. And that was the aha moment for me. And it made me realize that there's more that I need to learn. So I made that my mission. And as the Sagittarius that I am, I need to learn as much as I can, however I
yeah,
can do that. And I was greedy for information. So that turned into finding out about other content creators and other devs, and then starting to look on to the different websites and find out about different digital assets and what they all do and how they work together and what that could mean for the economy and for me and things that I had never learned about. And then I realized that if that's me, I can only imagine how many other people are out there in a worse situation
yeah.
that don't have the gumption to be able to go out there and learn as much. So from that vantage point, I decided to do my own show, keeping it 100 with Keda and the Crew. And I had seen Melissa doing hers with Vita Entertainment and your show there. And then you decided to do Dip a Toe with Simon.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is great. I love it. I love it. I love it. And the beauty of it is we actually got a chance to really talk offline and then finally get a chance to meet each other in person,
Mm,
which was another beautiful thing.
Yes.
And then being able to put faces with names, because you get an avatar, you get a screen name, but it's a whole nother thing to be able to put a face and a voice with a name, and to
Yep.
be able to have great conversations and to be able to find out that you're a lot more similar than you thought you were. So
Yep.
it has really garnered some great friendships and great acquaintances, and hopefully some really great business partnerships. So, you know, I'm super duper amped for this conversation and super happy to be here. So thank you, ladies, for having me. And
Thank you so much. There's nothing like meeting people in person, and you get the vibes from them. You feel the energy coming off of them, and I've been blessed to meet Brooke and you in person. I can't wait to meet Stephanie and Amanda in person. It'll happen one of these days. And several of the other folks that are in the chat, I've been able to meet. Hey, buddy. Hey, family. How you doing, Kelly? I met Kelly. Wonderful person.
yes,
Uh, that's the thing is, first I just want to say I want to congratulate all of us and pat us on the back, because we are um we are a minority of folks in the world, not just the United States or Canada, wherever you live
yeah,
in the world, that are giving this our attention. And I like to say give attention to things that I think are going to give me something back, right? I'm giving my attention. I don't want to pay my attention to anything ever again. I feel like we've done a lot of paying attention to what they're shoving down our throats, and the misdirection, misguidance
yes,
that's been intentional.
yes,
So I want to congratulate us for taking the responsibility into on our own shoulders, and looking up and trying to find others that are trying to learn about this transformation that's happening right now in our current financial system. The world is cooperating, they're collectively cooperating and building the new financial system, which gives us incredible opportunities right now, not only to kind of get out ahead of it and test these things out, build on these things, like build it. When the internet or the cell phones and those types of things started coming around, if you would have realized back then that you could get a website name and all these different things and start building your business online and making these connections, and the Angie lists of the world, like this is Angie's list on a whole nother level. And those that aren't familiar with Angie's list, some chick decided she was going to create a directory vetting people for home improvements, and she created a list. And instead of people looking in the phone book like we used to do in the yellow pages, and like they started looking up Angie's list to see like what does she think, da, 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 da. We have opportunities to build these kind of businesses right now, and two of you are doing that. And I commend you for doing, like, taking the bull by the horns, learning this space. And so I kind of want to I kind of want to go around the room and talk to you guys about you know where do you think we are right now, as far as how far down the road do you think we are with this digital transformation, um, and how much farther do you think we have to go? And I'm just going to go kind of in the same order with Stephanie being first.
You know, it's confusing. Everybody wants the prices to go up and whatnot, but there's a lot of things that still need to be done. All of these blockchains have to interact with each other. And data protection to me is honestly, like you said, it's my passion. If we can't protect our data, we certainly can't protect our assets, our money. So that to me is, I feel like that's being worked on now, which is why I'm so involved with Midnight, because that is did zero knowledge proof and all that stuff. So I I think we have a little bit longer to go, but maybe not so long. And here's my thing about your prices going up. there's so many other ways to make money in crypto right now, people. You don't need to wait for the moon. You can start staking, you can start getting involved using NFTs, doing all kinds of fun stuff. So um I'm nervous because now my Cardano people are jumping in.
They love you, Stephanie.
I'm used to talking to my XRPL.
Can I ask you a question? Since you touched on it. So first of all, that's digital identification, correct?
Digital identifiers.
Digital identifiers. You mentioned about the importance of security. That's one thing that I personally think that that has to be addressed, in my opinion, and be locked down with the security measures in place for the masses to come into the space. Not only just the retail people, but big banks and that putting huge amounts of money into this space. I've read different articles. Everybody's starting to use QR codes, like baby stepping them, right? Put a QR code. We don't give you a menu anymore. We want you to use a QR code, and you can read our menu from your phone. And people are creating fake QR codes and slapping them over top, and then people are accessing it and getting malware and things like that onto their phone. And so I feel like once those types of things get worked out, but then we're gonna be much farther down the road. But until people actually have a sense of security using these types of things, that's kind of like a no-go for a lot of people. What do you think about that?
I think that's exactly what you said. And one of the things, I think the reason I was chosen for the Midnight DevNet was because of my age. And, we just click buttons and mash buttons and follow the trend. We don't want to know what's behind the hood, underneath the hood. We don't. And so by doing this stuff and testing at the level that we're all at now, it's going to help just integrate it. People don't realize this. I was talking to someone who's working on a e-signature for the XRPL, and I told him DocuSign is on the blockchain, and he argued with me that it's not, but it is, and it is, and people just don't know, or do they care? So we just have to make sure that when it happens, people aren't going to know. So that's why I think it's going to be a little longer. I did some beta testing with Apple for a couple years, and they're doing it. They're doing blockchain stuff all the time. No one knows. And that's why you pay so much money for what Apple is doing, is for their security and their own personal blockchains and their own pass keys and everything. So it's happening. It's just, we just know that we as our community, we know it's going to take a little bit longer, but it is being integrated. And I did see the other day that an entire hospital was onboarded to the Cardano digital identifiers without even knowing it. So it is.
Wow, that's incredible! Without even knowing it.
Yep. So
that there is a big deal.
That was a big deal, and they got no hype for it, but because they don't know, they don't care.
Yeah. The average person doesn't. Do any of you ladies have any input on that, or comments, or thoughts on the security aspect of it, the DIDs, digital identifiers, being a major concern in this space? Anyone?
I think it's a huge thing, especially as we have large institutions that are going to be coming into this, right? And they then have access to a lot of people's identifiers. What do they call that? PII, personal identification or identifiers. You know what I mean?
Information.
So, yeah, information. The thing is when it comes down to it, people don't want their personal identification identifiers online. They don't want that. So, in order to be able to make sure that people feel secure enough to be able to utilize the technology, we have to have that in place.
I agree.
I think that's very important.
And so my newest thing I'm learning is the zero knowledge proofs. And that is going to be what we're building is actually, it's going to be in your phone, in your devices, and you're not even going to know it. So these people are just going to be, you just, when you install an app right now, you don't realize you're installing software that's working on your phone. And the proof server is what it's called, will basically protect all your information. So you will be self-custodying your own information instead of it being in a data farm. And that's what they're doing. They're farming your data, selling your data, and you're, every time you sign up for anything free, nothing's free. If it's free, you're the product.
Yep.
Right. And that remember we talked about the social dilemma. I don't know if you all have watched the social dilemma on Netflix. It's a documentary
My
concerning
favorite movie, favorite.
it's
I mean,
it's yeah,
goosebumps.
you touched on it. So, and the thing is that if you have not gotten the chance to take a look at it, and especially with you being in this type of a space, we need to understand just how much we're being manipulated on a daily basis, minute to minute to minute. Every single thought process you have, they're trying to acclimate it to their stuff to get you to purchase what they have.
Mhm.
Every single
You know,
thing you
and
do.
you brought up that movie, Social Dilemma.
Facts.
Brought up that.
CK Cardano says facts.
I love that movie. He's one of my favorite. You brought up that movie Social Dilemma, and when it came out 4 years ago, I'm fortunate. I have a geek son, and so I knew what AI meant, and I knew, and I'm telling people to watch this movie, and I had to give them definitions because they didn't know. But we got
Right.
acclimated the last 4 years. Oh, now everybody knows what AI is. Oh,
Yeah.
but they've been acclimating us practically with Alexa. I mean, that's what we
Yeah.
started with. And then
And also, they acclimated us during COVID.
to say it again, I didn't hear you.
I said they acclimated us during COVID.
Oh, 100%. COVID is, like I said, my identity got stolen during COVID, and that's what brought
Mm,
me into all of this. And I haven't shared that. I was sharing it with Melissa earlier. I was retired. I was living on an island. I mean, I had a couple condos, and life was freaking great. And this whole COVID thing happened, and you couldn't go into your banks. I'm watching my money come out, and the banks, they didn't know. They said, yeah, we know what's going on, but we don't know how to stop it.
Oh
And
boy.
our entire island was under a social engineered attack, and it was there's a lot of money on Hilton Head, and these old people, self included, but most of them are way older than me. They were just buying new phones and just reinstalling the same malware, and the shit was just kept happening over and over again. And the banks, they're not gonna, they're not sharing all of it. They're not gonna admit that they were under malware attacks or that they were being held ransom. And that's, everybody says, oh, crypto's such a scam. I'm like, no, your banks are the scam, people. I was able to make money on a meme token, like $40,000 on $100 investment, to be able to save my ass when I lost my condos and
mm,
everything, because the banks, they didn't know what to do, and then they would give you a phone number. And when I say social engineered, the phone numbers they were giving me were fake bankers. I mean, my
Oh
website
my.
were fake bankers. I mean, they got us. And somebody made a movie or a book about it. And at the time, I was so paranoid. I wish I could remember the name of the book, but I'm like, I'm not reading that. That should scare me. But I think it was
Yeah,
called Zero Knowledge.
that's definitely a scary thing that happened to you. And what's impressive is that you took that, you didn't let it defeat you, and you've turned it around now.
It kicked
Um,
my ass. Don't get me wrong. There's people in this space that saw me losing my mind, and
it's
I made a
okay.
comment.
Look
I
at what
made
you're doing now.
I made a comment on Witsy's made a thing. XRPL forensics is disbanding, and people do not know how much XRPL forensics helped me. And I had to go because I had what's called a RAT, remote access Trojan, in my devices, and everything was just, I mean, my whole world was jacked. I was able to get the information through that I needed to get to XRPL forensics through the Web3 app inside the Zaman wallet, and they were able to fix things. And they did. It made me cry. And they finally reached back out to me. Just knowing that there was somebody listening to me meant the world to me, because I couldn't get
awesome.
anybody. And so it's sad to see XRPL Forensics disband, but they've done a lot. But yeah. Anyway, that's my story. I can.
Brooke, it looked like you were going to say something a couple of times there, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to chime in. No, that's okay.
So going back to the identity and sharing your information and security, that's all plays a part in this whole system that's being built. I'm hoping, and it's something that I ran by a few people, that we have like this declaration of digital independence, much like our Declaration of Independence, basically giving us the rights to control what information certain entities do and do not want to share through privacy layers and security, which I think is coming. Another aspect of security that you have is the quantum. So I just had read that China had hacked a few, I think, hard wallets through like a quantum type of mechanism. So I think it's really a good idea to check out like quantum protected projects and quantum protected wallets. I know Mike Strike does that a lot, but that's a very, very important aspect to this space. So definitely, but I think that if we play this right and we can actually regulate it correctly and into our favor, that we might actually have a chance to control more of our privacy than we might think. But if not, this technology has the capability to absolutely just know you better than you know yourself and control you in a way. And I think it's going to, people, whenever they say, when we say control, it's might not be like the dystopia that you think. Because, and I think about farm animals. I have a homestead. And, you know, I feed my animals what they need. They're free range. They have, but ultimately,
you have control over them.
I have complete control over them. So whatever I give them, I can take from them. And I think that's another aspect of this space is even that. And I think that's why I'm really passionate about that type of education. I've kind of gone away from it a little bit because I just can't control how our elites set all of this up, but I'm hopeful. Who knows?
You know, you bring something up, Brooke, and this is another reason why I'm super excited about this space. And every single person that has a show, either on YouTube or Rumble, or they contribute on X, they have spaces. They're putting out information. They're researching things. You've got some folks that are looking into the legislations that's being developed. You have others that are looking into the tech that's being developed. If we don't learn about these things, there is no voice. We actually have more of a role in this than even I understood initially. The more powerful we are, the more that we learn, the more powerful we are, the more able we are to see bullshit and call it out when we see it. Because if we don't go and we don't listen to what these lawmakers are doing and what they're trying to propose, if you don't know what they're talking about, and most of them don't know what they're talking about, right? But by being involved in these spaces and rubbing elbows with developers and tech people, and Keda, you brought up T's Crypto Spot, who's really kind of got me thinking more, from the tech perspective, and I listen to people like that are online. And I mean, there's just so many good people out there willing to share their experience and their understanding and perspective of what's happening, which makes me be able to formulate my own opinion. And then hopefully together we can say, no, this is not going to work for me. And this is not going to, if it doesn't work for me, it's going to not work for at least 10 other people that I know. You know what I mean? And so I just, again, want to commend everybody that is taking the time to learn this stuff, because when we look back in history, when we get far, far down the road, it's going to be a trip to watch shows like this on playback and, know that we were there when it was all going down, and we might have played just a little tiny baby part, but damn, it's going to feel good,
Oh, I can't wait for my family to understand what the hell I'm doing.
That's so true.
What we are doing is powerful. And I know I am a game changer in this space, and I know you all are as well. But my family's like, go get a job, go be a waitress. And I'm like,
come on, shut your mouth. Tell me
broke.
to be a waitress.
I'd rather be broke
Huh?
than have somebody steal my money again because I didn't know how to protect my own identity. I'm not signing up for the old ways, because the old ways just didn't work. And I know others are starting to realize that. They're waking up, as they say. But my generation, and Melissa, you were saying it as well, and I'm in my 50s. I mean, I was supposed to be retired with the white picket fence right now. That shit is not happening. And we didn't know how to protect ourselves. We were taught, work hard, save money, put it in the bank, and you can retire early. And this younger generation, we were hiring them to build apps that we didn't know what they were installing into our devices, and all these back doors. We set ourselves up. And we being myself, like I said, I did fall apart. And I just said, you know what? I remember making a joke to my son. I'll show them. I just won't make any fucking money for them to steal. And he's like, yeah, that'll show them. And but in the meantime, I'm learning, and I know I can make money again. But right now, what's the point if we can't protect ourselves? And
yeah, we will. We will eventually make money. Fidgety B says crypto is only 15 years old. That's right. Miss Amanda Jones, you've been awful quiet.
I'm just waiting. Yeah, so there's a few things I want to say. One is when Keda said, I think it was you that said, I fondly relate to what happened in 2020 as the apocalypse, because apocalypse by definition means the revealing of the light. And I think that that's exactly what we're going through on the optimistic side of the evil, the dark to light. And Klaus Schwab, the founder of the WEF, the World Economic Forum, he wrote a book called The Great Reset, in which he explained how he was going to use what happened in 2020 to basically usurp the entire financial system. And then he wrote another book after that called The Great Narrative. So, they wrote books about it. They have a plan. And I think anybody who's aware of what they're doing, and that, for me, I like to look at things like it's not the tool, it's the tool wielder. And if you understand how to use the tool, there are way more good light bringers than there are evil psychopath democidal maniacs. And so the more good people who are using blockchain and using the tools that they would use to quote unquote enslave us, the better chance we have of. And in my, did I lose you? Did you lose me?
Nope. Yep. There you are. You're back.
Okay. The better chance we have of usurping their plan, and in my ideal highest timeline, creating heaven on earth. And I believe that blockchain has the opportunity to do that. So that was the first point. Then back to the digital ID. That's sort of where this conversation started. So one, I had no idea of that this happened to you, Stephanie. It's crazy that you have this story and that you can share it, and that it sounds like you found peace with it. I thought it was sort of funny when you said, I won't make any money and then they can't steal it, because that's pretty much what they want to put in all of our minds, like be satisfied with the least amount because, and if you have any, we're going to take it anyways. So, you know, be on the metaverse with your little goggles and shut the hell up. Do what you're told. And I think that it takes, you know, ingenuity and creative thought in order to navigate these systems. And from personal lived experience, I believe the only way out is through. And so, you know, you cannot just ignore this space, but leverage this space in a way that's empowering. And so where, you know, I would love to talk to you after, Stephanie, about your, like, just what you know, because the aspect of DID that I'm really curious about is sovereignty. And, you know, I've done a lot of research on the straw man and the bond that they create out of your birth certificate and how you become a, you know, that you're a corporation, that laws are for corporations, they're not for living men and women, that we are living men and women. And so I believe that there is a way to leverage blockchain to establish yourself as a living man and woman that takes back your sovereignty, essentially. And what you guys were saying before, where you become the controller of your own personal information instead of how they would have it, keep you ignorant, keep you demoralized, have you have no idea or think that it's either, you know, totally a waste of your time for your attention or a total scam or whatever they have you in your mind not be involved, that we claim that. And I think that this was so fascinating about all of this is that, like, going back to like you expressing, you know, what happened to you and your your ID being stolen, you know, obviously a digital ID being stolen is even more insane than having, you know, like maybe your driver's license being stolen and then replacing that or something like that. And so being able to figure out ways of navigating this while also, I mean, it's a fine line. It is a tight rope to navigate privacy versus transparency and authenticity, being able to identify yourself should you have your identity be stolen, being able to say, I am me, you know, this is not, you know, like how many people do we know they have imposters and they're the account that gets taken down. It's not the imposter, you know, or like we all have imposters on TikTok. I have like 10 imposters. Like people don't even know me. And I have 10 people pretending to be me, trying to steal people's money, you know? And so all of these, you know, and this is all a lesson and it's all a process to learn, but that's really where my curiosity lies when it comes to digital ID is that it's coming. It makes it easier for everything. So people are going to accept it. And they have to, because otherwise, I mean, it's just going to be imposed on us. So how can we utilize what we know is coming to empower ourselves and safeguard ourselves? Because like you were saying, I believe when you own an XRPL wallet, you own your own bank and there ain't nobody coming to your saviorship. So if your wallet gets compromised or, you know, one of the things actually I'd love to talk to you guys about this later on. We can expand this conversation later if you want. But one of the things that I've been really worried about is, you know, all of these HARP environmental impositions on people and how many thousands of XRPL wallets have just poof. You know, these people will never have access to them. Their phones are gone. All their documentation that they had in their houses are gone. Everything is gone.
About that too. I did. I thought about that too, Amanda, and it breaks my heart. And that is something that that we can talk about in a little bit. I think it's very important.
It happened to me. I mean, I was poofed. I mean, I felt poofed and nobody could help me. So like I said, I took it upon myself to learn this because nobody was out there trying to protect me. You know, one thing I'm going to tell you all that I learned that was completely opposite of what we were being told, obviously, was don't hide your stuff. Own it. Own your identity. Own your face. Own your experiences. You know, don't hide behind a PFP. Don't hide behind, you know, I say, here I am. I'm Stephanie. I live in New Bern, North Carolina. Because, you know, then the banks, I don't know if y'all, your phones they're identifying you now through your phones, because
Oh
if
yeah.
I tried logging into my
Even
credit
your
card,
bank account, even your
Yeah.
bank account,
my
through your
credit
phone.
card, because I didn't have the correct, I didn't have the device that I had hooked up to it. I mean, these things are important. So you have to own, and they were protecting me. I know they were trying to protect me because of what's happened. They weren't letting me into my credit stuff because, well, they didn't think it was me. And it, so, and another thing, do not trade your phones in. Do not trade your phones in. Your stuff is not wiped. And it will also save you, if you were to lose another phone, you can regain access to your things by having those devices. I threw all my shit in the ocean because I was so freaked out. I literally threw everything in the ocean, and that was the worst mistake I could have ever made. But at the time, I was in paranoia mode. I was like, there's shit living in my machines, and there was. Now, mind you, in hindsight, apples I shouldn't have thrown in, Windows I should have. There's things I've learned along the way, but the best way to do it is to own your identity. Just to own it. Make sure it's you and be upfront. But I mean, I know some people worry about that because they have families and stuff, but my
Yeah.
kids won't talk to me. They don't talk to me because they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to me because they don't think I know how to protect myself online, and they don't want it to trickle into their lives.
Ah,
No,
ay,
I
ay,
mean,
ay.
They
and
know,
here's
and they know that I'm out here making a scene, and they're like, that shit ain't gonna be coming back on me. Good luck with that. But
well,
What's
they
that,
know how to
Keta?
protect themselves. We don't. Go ahead, Keta.
no, I was just saying, I had a similar situation to you, Stephanie. I had a not really exactly the same, but I had actually lost about 30,000 XRP. Got caught up in the scam of the updated ledger, um, that whole debacle. And I did everything that I was supposed to do by way of reaching out to regulatory agencies, even though there wasn't anything to regulate at that time because there were no laws. But um, I contacted the FTC. I contacted the, internet crimes. I contacted XRPL, the people from the XRPL. And what I'm concerned about, especially with the way that the government is, I can almost guarantee you they have my 30,000 XRP. You know what I mean? But it's not regulated and there's no laws in place. And there weren't any laws in place when that happened.
And I'm 100% on that, Keto. We need regulation, and I believe what you're saying. And a lot of the problem is that your crypto was safe, but your ledger wasn't. You know what I mean? Like the crypto's, your XRP, it's on the blockchain,
Right,
but your
right.
ledger,
Oh no, absolutely.
right? And people dismiss that. It's not,
Nah, I didn't miss it
cryptos
because
get
I actually went to some folks that actually went and found the transactions and all of the things. But at that point, it had been sent overseas. It had been sent
oh,
to an exchange where it was basically siphoned out within minutes.
Wow.
You know what I
They
mean?
like put it in the washing machine, right?
Yeah,
Wash
they
it all up
washed that
nice and
bad boy
pretty.
so
It's all
fast.
pretty. Them blue jeans are like
Man,
pressed nicely.
they were crisp. You hear
that
me?
Mm.
Ripson effect.
The crisp jeans.
They were crispy. Okay.
Huh?
So and just know that, and I'm not gonna lie, it hurt my heart. And I was a novice to the entire situation,
Mm.
meaning like when it comes to anything digital assets, I was a complete novice. Didn't have the information. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't until after I had gotten into, T crypto spots, whole situation that I understood a lot more of what I held, how important it was, how much I, what the keys were, how that works, how that can be really compromised. And the minute that you let go of your keys, you know what I mean, that you are susceptible to anything. You know what I mean? And when it comes down to it, the thankful part of it is, even though I have never gotten any of that back, I now appreciate what I have that much more. I now guard it much, very different now than I did before. Um, and at the end of the day, um, that's one of the main reasons why I'm in this space, meaning like in the actual, space to be able to be out there and make my voice heard. Because at the end of the day, there's so many more people that are trying to get into this and that can be taken for everything that they have. You know what I mean? And people are not doing anything more than trying to make their lives better, the lives of their family better, the lives of their children better. You know what I mean? To be able to get their time back. And I think
Yep.
that's why I love what Brooke is doing. I love what you're doing, Optimistic Prime. I love what you're doing, Stephanie, because at the end of the day, I want Brooke, if I could have my own homestead, you're homesteading, you got the schoolie. I can't even tell you how many videos I have watched about how to make one and how to redo it and strip it the whole nine. So when I say to you that all of that is there, and I'm so thankful for all of those that have come into this space. There's so many of us. Actually, let me rephrase that. There aren't so many of us
Yeah.
because that's the
We're
reason
such
why
a
we're
minority.
chosen. No, we are. And I hate to see the amount of wallets they say are out there because they don't take into the account of the fact that I know for myself, I got at least 15 to 20 wallets myself.
Spread it out.
Spread it out all from all of the places I may have purchased digital assets, right? If you think about every single place that you purchase digital assets at, you now
As
have
we were
all of
saying
those.
6 months ago, I think the last time we
Hmm.
actually got together as a group, we
Yep.
actually were talking exactly about this, the 10
Hmm.
XRP that are
Yep.
held on all these different wallets.
Yep.
I think Brooke wanted to say something. And I never lost 30,000. I lost 1,000. And I think that
Mm.
that's why it's so important, especially when you're first starting out, like this whole first ledger bot. I basically am like, okay, $10. That's
Yep.
how I started everything off. I was like the minimum purchase to get money into my Binance originally 4 years ago was $100. And that's what I played with. So if I lost 1,000, it was $100. And that's sort of how I have attacked this. But there's so many scams. And the crazy thing is that obviously these people are getting paid to scam. Like it's not just the scamming that's happening and the stealing people's money, but some nefarious institution is hiring people to spend their days learning these systems to exploit the average person. And somebody wrote in your comments here, that they almost gave their keys to a fake bot. So much support out there is fake bots. And if you're new and you don't know and you're desperate and you've just lost $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, or maybe it's only your $100, you're going to try to find help. And that's why,
Hmm.
going back to the beginning of this conversation, I totally agree. Sharing your face and building a personality on the internet is the only way to save both yourself as well as making sure that people know, like, you can come to me and I can help you. But there's specific conversations because I have a lot of Optimistic Prime people that'll write you and tell you that they're me. And so there has to be some level of a verification. And the only way, and like with AI now and the faces and all that crazy deep fake stuff, like it's really, really hard to navigate this space. And I think it's all by design. But Brooke had her hand up like 10 minutes ago. You wanted to say something.
I just have a question though, guys, because when you're saying that there could be, there's all the scammers out there. What's the possibility that they're not intentionally doing this? Like, well, we do have problem reaction solution over and over and over again with different things that go on, but you can't solve a problem unless you know the problem exists. So perhaps there's intentional the whole hackathons. I mean, there's plenty of hackathons. Stephanie, you've participated in them. I remember reading several years ago, the military had put out something regarding a hackathon. This is back before I was even in crypto, had no idea about it at the time, but it was talking, they were looking for hackers, they were advertising for hackers. And now it makes sense as as I progress. Yeah.
Hackathon is a bad term, and I hate that they've used that term because hackathons aren't just about hacking and
Right.
bugs. And I hate that they've made that the term because people are like, I don't know how to hack. I don't
Yeah.
know how to hack either, but I created something and I submitted it. So the term is a little confusing. But just yesterday, the Witsy from the Zeman wallet, he put out a tweet that now that they've got the 3.0 and they just did the updates, if you people that want to go in there and play with the new X apps, and if you find something you like or you don't like, he will reward you with it, and he's calling it bounties. So everybody can get involved with earning money, quote unquote hackathon. Sorry, go ahead, Melissa.
No, I'm glad that you made that point because there a lot of people do just think that it has to do with hacking, bad actors type of thing. I guess I'm just saying that unless they know a situation is there for the taking, how do you solve for a problem that hasn't happened yet? And testing and exploiting and those type of things. And so those of us that are in this space early, as we all are very early, we are kind of like their guinea pigs, their beta testers. Every new thing that comes out, like you're saying, Amanda, the new ledger thing, and you could build and you could do the bot, and there's all of these things. Proceed with caution. Don't go all in with all of your money. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Is always a good way to go about things in this space. And I'm extremely cautious. I like to try to understand what I'm getting myself involved in prior to actually doing it. And so, I've probably missed out on several opportunities because of my apprehension and getting involved in things that I don't understand yet. But I want to learn, and I think there's still time to learn, lots of time to learn. And so, for those of you that are watching this Dip a Toe show, I saw Sing for Jesus came. I wanted to say hello to her, and I know she's just kind of dipping her toe and trying to understand the space. And so it's just really important for people to know, crypto's not for sissies. You got to do your own research, and you have to take responsibility for your actions. And so, proceed, but proceed with caution, and make sure that you're connected with the things that you're doing, like mentally connected with it. Why am I doing this? Does this make sense? I mean, I saw somebody say they almost got scammed by the atomic fake atomic wallet. We know somebody, one of our good friends, got scammed out of a bunch of XRP by thinking they were talking to ledger support. Those types of things. I mean, it happens. What were you saying, Stephanie?
Years ago, I was in the Bearable Bulls Discord, and I mean, you want to talk about whales? These people had freaking money, and someone dropped MetaMask was new, and someone dropped a fake MetaMask link, and those people FOMO'd into that fake MetaMask link, thinking it was MetaMask, and dropped all their money in these fake wallets. I mean, they weren't fake. I mean, it was a real wallet. It just wasn't MetaMask, and they lost all their shit. They couldn't log back in. I mean, it was a big deal. So everybody's like, "Oh, MetaMask is a scam." No, MetaMask isn't a scam, but MetaMask is a secure wallet. But there was a fake one going around for a long time. And one thing Apple and Google have done is they really like I said, what I finally, when I could not beat the bad guys, I jumped in bed with Apple and Google, and I literally became a beta tester for them because I'm 54
Yep.
years old. I'm pushing buttons. I'm doing. If anybody's gonna screw up, it's gonna be me. And I let them watch everything I was doing, and they did a lot of new security stuff. One of the things that they did was you might even have a fake Apple app store in your old phone, and you don't even know it. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
it's that's how crazy it got. So that's why they don't do the one size fit all updates anymore. It's very important to go into your phone. You might not even get that little red dot saying that you need an update. But if you go into your privacy and security and you look at it and you'll be like, holy shit, this hasn't updated. That's because they want you to be aware of what your update is doing, and so that you know what's going on, because they need everybody else to be, you need to be self-responsible. You can't keep blaming Apple for shit when it's, if you're not doing your own stuff. No, that's my pitch. Sorry, I get a little passionate about that. There was one more thing I was going to say earlier. Oh, I want to invite you guys to the Midnight Testnet and try the new Quick Start. It's where you go and it's like 30 minutes. You install, you basically install the proof server, and it teaches you how, it uses a wallet, and it's kind of fun, and it just give your feedback, because I'm like the only girl in like 2,000 people.
I want to bring you back on Dip a Toe and interview you specifically on this Midnight project, because I'm definitely intrigued and I want to learn more about it. One thing that you did mention that I think is key, you mentioned Apple and Google. And while what I did notice when you get in this space, I don't know about you ladies, but particularly when I first got in with Bitcoin, and there's always the whole sovereignty thing, and the Apples and the Googles, and those are bad. People want to get away from that. They want not your keys, not your crypto, all those types of things, which is true. I get it. However, unfortunately, for newbies coming into the space unaware, they're easy prey for folks when they don't know what they're downloading. And so, like you're saying, someone is saying, download this wallet. And, a lot of people make money off of the different types of, use my link and all this kind of stuff. And, it's always best practice to just write from the source where it's at. Maybe slide the person $5 or whatever they would have made if you want to support that person. But it's just, it's my opinion. I like to download things directly from the source so that I know I'm getting it where I'm supposed to be getting it from. And, those companies, Apple and Google, they have their Play Store. They do vetting. Not that you can't get anything bad out of there, but there is that added extra effort on their part to kind of weed out the bullshit so that you are downloading a legitimate product. And I just want to know, like, what your guys' take on that. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me on that?
I agree with you 100%, but I kind of screwed myself when I first started working with Midnight. Google was doing all those crazy updates, and I was able to sideload some stuff and protect myself better with my app that I was using with Midnight. And then when I did the update, I couldn't use it anymore. So, but for the average Joe, yes, absolutely. As much as you want to hate on them, Apple and Google, they are trying to protect you, but you are, with Apple, I feel like you're protecting your privacy a little bit better, but you're paying a higher price. With Google, your price is a little bit lower and sometimes free, but you're giving them your data. So, it's just, and you need to know what you're doing if you're going to sideload, is what they call it, sideloading these other apps. And it can be done, but it's just, you need to know what you're doing and who you're getting them from. Anybody else? Sorry, I'm sorry. This is my passion, is data protection. This is like the first time I get to grandstand myself about it, so it's kind of fun.
I think Brooke, were you were going to say something?
No, I just, like you, I agree. I try to download from a similar source and or from like the original source. And yeah, I mean, you can't be too cautious, it seems, especially in this space. Goodness.
Right?
I'm like hearing horror stories, and I'm sitting here taking notes as she's like, you see me going, and I'm like looking things. Yeah. So.
I mean, this is not to scare people, right? I mean, the point of this show is to show, you know, we are people that are getting involved in this space and we're educating ourselves. But there is the onus on yourself to educate yourself and to be cautious and be deliberate when you're getting involved in anything to do with the digital asset space. And so, you know, creating a network like what we have here, and kind of vetting these people that you're spending your time, you know, listening to. A lot of us listen to the different influencers throughout our day, you know, but we don't know them. You know, shows like this, like Crypto for Life, Crypto Jay's show. Shout out to him. He did stop by. You know, you got the coffee chat with the Uncle Buster and Crypto Navigator and those guys. You know, they are, like Stephanie said, they're showing their faces, and they're there. They've been there for a long time. They have conversations with real folk, and you know, that's a little different than just someone that is in the shadows and, you know, shilling a bunch of products or coins to you, at you, whatever whatever you want to say. You know, T's Crypto Spot, he's just all about, you know, educating people on the space. So I think, like, once you get in it, you kind of start to realize who's who. And I mean, it does take a little bit of time to navigate your way around, but there's so many good people that can really help you.
And I am not showing my face right now only because I'm sick and my eyes are swollen.
Don't feel bad. I
didn't
was
want to come out
that
here
girl.
look right now. I'm like, I ain't doing it. You'll see
I
me.
was that girl just
I'll
a
make
couple
sure
of days ago, so don't feel bad.
Hey, I think you look good, but my allergies are killing me. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I am not letting people see me look like this. But that's just that was not because I'm not showing who I am.
I think that, you know, in a real weird way, scamming is sort of an initiation. Getting scammed is an initiation, and sort of like, if you just recognize that learning the space is this. I mean, a lot of us who believe in the highest timeline for 4 years have thought that at one point, you know, the good thing about regulation, especially, is, you know, that when you track your money through wallets, you should be able to, you know, the person who stole your money should be held accountable. And that, you know, scams are actually, you know, like, the whole thing is regulated enough that if it's a scam, then they're going to be removed, and that there is protectionism. And I think that these are the conversations, and it's, you know, it's people like us that are, you know, willing to get involved, that will, you know, allow for those things to be built. Like Stephanie was talking about all the things she's involved with. You know, these are people trying to fix the things that are broken. And ultimately, you know, for me, I think that this conversation about scams is really important, because so often people, you know, like, it's if you're brand new, if you just show up in the middle of a conversation and then you go and look for people and you don't realize that there's, you know, imposters, or that on any time you post anything on X with anything about a wallet, you'll have 5 bots show up that say, "Oh, I contacted this person and this is the person to talk to." And, you know, once you become familiar with the words that they use, like, it's very clear. You know, like, if they write you and say, "Have you moved your money over to the QFS to save it?" Yeah, scam.
Huh.
Have you talked to this person about how to save your money? Scam. Have you, you know, this is the person I talked to save my wallet? Scam. Like, it's all, like, there is very specific language. And I think ultimately, this is a lot of what we're going through is the growing pains of, like, what the blockchain represents and what this shift represents. And, you know, transparency what we see right now is that, the people are being watched, but the government people aren't. And ultimately, the positives about this shift is that blockchain allows for transparency. And so ultimately, when the good wins, I believe that, the people who've had nefarious actions will be held accountable, and that there will be a shift back to, proper justice and lawful behavior. And, I think that one of the biggest things that's so interesting about the blockchain is, like, part of the shift is to recognize that the monetary system is a Ponzi scheme, that the thing that you cash as king is actually a Ponzi scheme. And Brooke's smiling. And I think that, I would love to get into the conversation about the fact that the BRICS Summit is happening right now.
Yeah.
And not only do they have like 11 people, but they have like 20, 50 countries now that are applying. And that, like, this is a huge thing because a lot of them, their governments are actually trying to solve these problems for the people, because they are actually trying to create infrastructure to reestablish their own currency. I think Brooke has a lot to talk about this. She's smiling in the background.
I know. I know.
And I want to hear everything she has to say, because it's been 6 months since we talked about any of this stuff. But the fact that that summit is happening today and right now, and the last thing that Xi Jinping did before leaving China was to get in fatigues and bring 100,000 people in front of him from his army and tell him, be prepared to fight a war. And so, all wars are bankers' wars. And we are literally in the midst of, like, the scammers are are the war against the common person. But what we're seeing is this, it's intertwined in all aspects. And if you've been following the US debt clock, I mean, it is literally the most hopeful thing there is on the internet. Every time I see, like, they just dropped one, 2 days ago or 3, that was like, we the people will repossess. And it's just like, I'm Canadian, I'm not American, but I now, in the past 4 years, I'm like, oh, I really want to be American. And, it's really about, your Constitution, the Americans' Constitution is literally the only thing that's protecting the world in a really backwards way, because the BRICS nations, they know that it's not the people, it's the people in the background that have been, that have infiltrated the Fed, essentially, the cabal, the Vatican, the Bank of England, and Washington, D.C. And, these 3 sovereign nations, don't forget, all 3 of them, London, Rome, or the Vatican, Rome, and Washington, D.C., do not belong to the countries that they are inside of. And that what we're seeing is a complete shift from this entity that has controlled money and has controlled the people through policy for, let's say 100 years, but I'd like to argue 2,000 years. Same people who killed Jesus, Yahweh, Yeshua, whatever you want to call him, are the people that are running the bank still. Throw the money changers out as a 2,000-year-old anecdote for a reason. And that we, by being part of these conversations, we're actually leveraging ourselves into, I believe, Christ consciousness, into more of a level playing field. And it is the awareness and the education and the being willing to, like, get out there and learn and be humanitarians that are like, I want to share all the information I have with you for free, I'd like to make a little money so I can live and survive. But ultimately, I'm not here for the money. I'm here for the shift. I'm here for the dark to light. I'm here for the, BRICS is happening, whether you agree with it or not. De-dollarization is happening. And so being able to recognize what that is, what they're doing, and, how we're not, the shift over is going to be tough. And I think the only thing that's going to save us from, we're in World War III right now, but the only thing that's going to save us from, like, full on World War III is blockchain, is the fact that I believe, in my personal opinion, that the debt can be shaken out through blockchain technology. Everybody owes everybody. And that ultimately it's the blockchain and the fact that you can tokenize debt that will allow for the shakeout, which will allow for the reevaluation of money, the backing by assets, and therefore the reclaiming our sovereignty as the people 2,000 years after Jesus talked about it,
And
You know,
here's the thing.
I
New
got
Here's the thing
mindset said
about
Prime drop the mic.
yeah.
I'm telling you. I'm
I
telling you.
got onboarded by pretty much that exact speech in 2020 from he was related to the Rockefellers, and there's a lot of money in freaking Hilton Head, a lot of money, and he brought me into the whole queue and he turned me on to XRP, and you're 100% right, and he comes from a shit ton of money, so you said it, and it's funny. I wasn't going to bring all that up because I didn't know how deep we go on these spaces, so I was trying to keep it, but we are definitely in a shift, and we are right in the middle of it, and we are fighting, we are soldiers. So God bless you, man. Thank you for saying all that. Drop that mic.
And the beauty of it is this optimistic Prime. Like, we keep saying we've been chosen for this. There's a reason that people from so many different demographics, from so many different walks of life, from so many different types of economic, situations, have all come to the same place for the same thing at the same time in the same spaces. And this is what is beautiful about this, is that it's scary. And the thing is you can't, when you see it, you can't unsee it, right? The minute you see it, you now have been forever changed,
Yes.
Yeah, I
Amen.
really was typing that.
right?
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You
For
can't
sure.
unsee it,
I,
You
right?
can't.
So
I
if
always
you
refer to
can't
that guy in the
unsee it,
Matrix that says, "I just want to eat this steak again. I know it's not steak, but I don't."
yeah.
Sometimes
But
I'm
the
like
thing
that. I didn't know what I know. It's scary. It's
Right.
freaking scary.
and the thing is I know all of you have had this thought process of, well, if I can see it, how come everybody else can't see it? How come y'all
About
ain't saying
everything,
that?
Keda. About
I'm telling you,
everything.
One,
like when I'm just
You
saying,
people,
like,
can't
how
give
come y'all
somebody
don't
else
get it?
your oil. You can't give
Guys,
someone else your oil.
some people don't want to. When I
Bro-
was in Hilton Head,
No,
I
they don't.
remember when I was living the dream and just happy and semi-retired, slinging drinks, and I'm walking with this guy who was like seeing the UFOs and seeing the things, and I'm like, dude, I just want to eat the steak. But then something happened, and my eyes opened up, and everybody used to make fun of this guy and say he was crazy and stuff. I'm like, just because he's seeing it doesn't mean it's not there. Just because you
He's
Exactly.
only crazy until he's not.
right,
Yeah.
just because you
yeah,
can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And then once I started opening my eyes, and that's what was the joke earlier about my YouTube channel, all this crazy shit that was happening up in the sky on Hilton Head during the pandemic, nobody was watching, and they were doing some crazy shit. I watched Falcon 9 land right off the coast, and everybody was like, "How did you know?" I said, "Because I was watching."
How about this? I got one for you. I got a praise report. How about that? So my 72, soon to be 73-year-old mother, who is completely old school, curses like a sailor, is funny as all get out and all the things.
She's cute as a button.
But I'm telling you, we we had a conversation, and when all this Diddy stuff started coming out, and she was telling me about it, and I said, Mom, it's nothing but a distraction, right? Distractions. Distractions all over the place. Everything you're seeing right now in the news, even the election, all of it, it's distractions. And they're distractions from what they're doing in the background that they don't want us to see, right?
mhm.
And she didn't believe me up until the hurricanes happened.
Mm.
When the hurricanes happened, and I started seeing, oh, so the money grab has started. Let's talk about the lithium deposits in Asheville. Let's talk about the quartz deposits in Asheville that a certain company stands to make $240 billion a year to be able to mine it. What's the
Now
easiest
who's
way
mic dropping?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And let's talk about the names of the companies that are associated with this BlackRock. And
Yeah,
let's talk about the
you'll get the
name.
YouTube channel shut
I'm
down.
going further. Oh, I'm going further. And let's talk about the fact that one of the
Don't get my
major.
show shut down.
No, I'm not going to shut it down.
Please don't get my show
But,
shut down.
but one of the major contributors was Kamala Harris's husband.
Mm. Mm.
Right. To the company that's supposed to excavate all of that lithium so that they can power those electric vehicles. Right.
Interesting.
So,
I wasn't aware of that.
But if you think about it like this, how then are they going to be able to get these people out of the way so that now the government can take over that land and nobody can say anything about it? It says enough when they're sending 10,000 body bags a go into the area to get rid of people that they're bulldozing all the land for. Yeah, I'm going to talk about it. Because the thing about it is that if you don't talk about it, it goes unnoticed. The sheep are not going to see it. And it's
I'd like to say though, Keda, that so my background is international development. So I know some of you know that, but my first degree was international development. So I did my first degree from 2001 to 2006. So 20 years ago, I was learning how big corporations would go into countries and usurp the land. And, that the IMF would lend a bunch of, billions of dollars to a poor country. And then they would make contracts with these giant corporations 20 years ago.
You mean the Ukraine? Oh, sorry.
And then, but no, I'm talking way back, Shell in Nigeria and, the African, specifically because I lived in Africa. I lived in Zimbabwe for 3 months during the inflation, when first month they got there, $1 was 100,000 Zimbabwean dollars. And 3 months later, it was 300,000 Zimbabwean dollars. And so I've lived through the kind of inflation that I'm terrified is going to happen here, and people don't see it.
It's already happening, though.
Brooke, talk, please.
Brooke, yeah.
The only difference between inflation and hyperinflation is the speed.
That part.
So, and I've been wondering for a long time, as I'm watching all of the current events and the financial system, and then the shift, it encompasses a lot of different layers. I'm still wondering if we get a big deflationary event, and then we kick on the money printers, and then we send into hyper.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
You're back.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And you know why? I don't think so, Brooke. Because they now are making rules with the IRS and these different places, and they're raising the limits for these times. They had certain dollar amounts that you had to meet in order for this to go into account. And now it's being raised because they're seeing that the changeover is coming. And the people are going to have more money now.
Yeah. So we get hyperinflation either way. So, and how I look at, I think that's where we ultimately head is to more inflation, whether you consider it hyper or not. I actually need to look up the actual definition of hyperinflation. But what is happening right now, especially we talked about BRICS, and BRICS is meeting, and I've been keeping a close eye on that. I've been trying to, with all the craziness of my family around right now. I have a kid that just broke an arm and a girl who just had surgery, and I'm trying to keep up with the BRICS summit. So it has been, I can't even keep up with how much news is coming out of that. And a lot of people think that BRICS is a big nothing burger. And yes, they've been around for forever, but they are getting their act together. As soon as we started weaponizing the dollar, they were like, that's our plan. Or that's our cue to go. And Putin mentioned that in some of his speeches. But they are, making a very direct effort to call what's de-dollarize, which, if just a short summary for those people who might not know what de-dollarization is, the majority of the world uses the US dollar. And multiple countries also have what's called dollar denominated debt, which means they will take out loans in like their currency, but then they have to pay back that debt in the US currency later. That's called dollar denominated debt. So there's also the euro dollar system, which is what we technically run off of. And then you have your bonds and treasury bonds. What we're seeing happening right now is our bonds being less and less attractive looking. We have the Fed lowering rates, but we see rates actually starting to go up, and the market's raising the rates while the Fed is like lowering their Fed funds rate. We see gold going through the roof. We see silver. Silver is one of the most repressed heavy metals, and it's done big nothing for a while. But when you start to see movement in silver and in gold, and we also have the dollar is also moving up the DXY. So we have gold moving up, silver moving up, the dollar index moving up, and then we also have record high stock market. We're at an all-time high in our stock market while the Fed is cutting rates. That all of that is so unordinary. It is. And so I'm trying to get a good handle about like the macro picture, and we even have Japan, and Japan right now, they lowered their interest rates for the first time in 17 years, which is massive. Like that's a massive pivot. So think like up is down and down is up kind of right now. But then
In all things.
In all things. So we might actually see where some things have like deflate and some things drive up in price, not high or hyperinflate. We could have both of those happening simultaneously in everything. So, but I found something very interesting. We are starting to see all of BlackRock bring out their stable coin. Of course, XRP brought out their stable coin, and a bunch of different institutions bring out their stable coins. And we see coming out of BRICS, they're announcing currencies. I read over their plan. They're even planning like a basket of backed currency, like 40% gold, and then like the other 60% their currencies, which their currencies might also start to become more backed by gold, which is very fascinating. All of that to say, each time you see that, the US and the world gets a little weaker, and our influence becomes less. And so there's, and the stable coins, I'll go back to the stable coins. When you have a currency crisis or the world goes through a currency crisis, what typically happens is countries will start to sell their US bonds. And so those US bonds then go back onto the market. At the same time, like what's happening right now, we are printing more money, meaning we're printing more bonds. So then they go to a bond auction. And if those bond auctions, they are not, all of those bonds aren't sold, then the US has to issue more bonds, issue more debt to pay to get those bonds. And then that is exponential math. Like that is the death spiral. So you will start to see, as countries like the United States, the dollar is the best, but I like to say it's the prettiest smelling thing in the toilet bowl. And so when every other country's currency is collapsing, there will be a rush possibly to the dollar, and you'll see the dollar index going up. The dollar will become strong. People will believe that signal is a good signal. but it's actually incredibly bad. And it's the crashing up is typically how a lot of currencies and world reserve currencies crash down ultimately. But with the stable coins coming out, I think that it's possible that these stable coins will have there's another buyer in the market, I guess is what I'm saying, for bonds and treasury bonds to back all of these quote unquote stable coins. Like, so it's possible that we are witnessing like that sort of event, but that is how all of these extra bonds on the market get paid, like sold back, I guess. And then we naturally like go into this digital system. It's really fascinating.
I have 2 questions for you inside of that. So the first one is, I had heard a rumor / not rumor, but something that triggered me, and I didn't want to. Oh, did I lose you again? Are you there?
You're back.
Okay. I saw a rumor that Ethereum or Bitcoin, I think it was Ethereum, was buying bonds. Do you know anything about that? Or it was Bitcoin, something in the background?
I have
USDC maybe?
Well, so if it's a stable coin, you would hope to see that, right? Because you're pegging a stable coin 1-to-1 to the dollar. And so how they back those stable coins often is by bonds.
So do you don't know any, I think it might have actually, now that I spoke it out loud, that maybe it was USDC. You haven't heard anything about that in terms of like buying the US bonds, and so because it's inflationary, it's like basically doesn't, it's not worth very much. Nothing like that.
I haven't looked into that.
Okay. And then the second question I have is, I saw something today actually for the first time. So 2 years ago, Linda P. Jones told me all about Evergrande and its connection with Ethereum and USDC. And then there's a huge, do you guys have the feedback? There's a huge feedback on
it. Might be me. I'll mute my.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. And so I just saw today that Evergrande went bankrupt. So the for those of you who don't know what I know, that Tether was connected to Evergrande, and so if Evergrande went bankrupt, it would have an effect on Tether, and then that would and then that hypothetical was that it would have a huge effect on things like Ethereum and Bitcoin. They went bankrupt, but I haven't heard anything in like 6-7 months, and we haven't really seen the repercussions. And I saw today that they're being delisted this week. Evergrande is. Do you know anything about that? Have you heard anything about that?
Isn't Evergreen the one where that was the logistics company that had like all of the trucker, and that was where there was a I believe it was an Asian that was convicted of some
it's real estate in the giant high rises in China that have nobody living in them. That's Evergreen.
Yes, that's Evergreen. Okay.
Fidgety
Making sure I knew what
USDC Circle, the issuer of USDC, has indeed shifted its strategy to include buying U.S. Treasury bills with its reserve fund managed by BlackRock. This was a move to adjust its portfolio during the U.S. debt ceiling standoff, indicating a direct involvement of USDC in bond-related investments. Thank you, Fidgety Beast.
Thank you, Fidgety. Yes,
Beast is one of my Cardano maxis, and I tell you, man, you guys give him a follow. He's got a show.
I love it.
He's a lot of fun. And
drop your link in the chat, Fidgety Beast. By the way, ladies, I put all of your handles on X within the chat. So those of you that are watching this, please follow everyone on the show here tonight. If you like what you're hearing and you wanna see more from them, you can follow them on X.
So I don't know about with Evergrande
or about bricks too, if you want to talk about that.
Sorry.
No, Brooke, I mean, you're doing great, and I would like to hear. I don't know a whole lot about bricks. If you guys want to help me out with that too, if you want to include that in what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What was your question on Evergrande though, Brooke? Beforehand.
Oh no, I was just going to answer Optimistic Prime. So right now China is funneling like their real estate because of the pop of Evergrande. Their real estate industry which is my mind, fact check me on this, it was around 30% of their GDP was their real estate market. And it tanked with Evergrande. So we are watching just the past month or so, China pump so much money into their market to try to save stocks, save the market. We saw a huge, like a 25% rally in their stock market whenever they did that a few weeks ago. It was insane. So never underestimate a central bank's capability to keep markets leveraging for longer until you have something that's called a beautiful deleveraging. And it's not so beautiful. That is a Ray Dalio term. It means people debt goes poof up. Yeah. So what? Oh, and with bricks. So 3 years ago, I came up with 4 different theories. Whenever I came across like, oh, money is changing and that has consequences. And if what is happening, then there's patterns and cycles of history that we can look back on and events that take place around them that indicate where we are in a cycle like this. And it just so happens that digital assets like DLT technology, blockchain, smart contracts, agnostic DLT systems help solve so many frictions of money, issues with trust. It's a literal term. Trust is why we literally have banks and global banks and local banks. It's all because we need intermediaries that trust each other. Well, now we have a technology that it's a neutral technology because anyone can look at how it is coded, how it's meant to run, and they can agree on that. So no longer do we technically need to be buddy-buddy with everyone. And the BRICS nations have actually, I've had this theory that if what's happening is happening, we will see increasing, like explosive national debt for one. Gold and silver and precious metals go through the roof. We will see an escalation of world war. We will see an escalation of internal conflict, and we will see currencies in crisis. And I said that about 4 years ago. I put it out publicly about 3 years ago. And I have not become more wrong. And I would love to be, it's a really weird dichotomy because if I'm right, then I'm right big.
Yeah.
And like this
Bigly.
is going to be bigly, but it doesn't mean very good things macroly. So I'm just kind of watching. I don't want to be a doom and gloomer. It does involve doom and gloom, but on the other end of this, if you play your cards right, in these shifts is whenever the next generation of wealthy families and wealthy people are made. So that's kind of, it's been fun to watch because it hasn't been fun to watch, but it has been fun to watch because I got trolled hard. And people are like, it's not happening. And every month, every year, I've got more right. It's scary. It is scary a lot of times. And actually, my friends had an intervention for me this weekend because I've literally been like, I only have like 2 best friends. And I didn't realize it, but I've been so much in my research and watching things and charting and digging through history that they were like, we haven't heard from you. Like, where are you? What are you doing? It's pretty well. The recent events consumed my mind and the life. My friends are worried about me.
There's so much going on. How do you, and then given the things that the history that and you're seeing all these things kind of being lined up, you're connecting the dots. It's kind of hard to ignore it. The new mindset said this conversation is so great. So my question is, the banks, the lobbyists are being woke. Are we graduating to be done with the political or the politics with an election year? Question marks.
Well,
No,
that's
so
a
the
very
whole
interesting.
like the banks and the lobbyists, like that is the friction that you're feeling actually from the legacy financial system. So your Gary Genslers, your Elizabeth Warren, your even Jamie Dimon, who he can talk smack on the space all day, but his company has been building on it. But they're scared because this really does change so much in the dynamics of money, of power, of the use of power that we can have an effect on the world with. And because banks run the world. And
Yeah.
whenever and we are run by central banks, and we're talking about a technology that is decentralized. And so that scares them so much. And so what they knew this was coming. So it's been my opinion that they've been spending the past 10 years, the players, the people who are the projects that are going to succeed on that level, I think have already been chosen. And they slowly will roll out, like, we're running this test, it was successful, this one. They have already created the plumbing for the new, I believe, financial system. And we are currently watching the crumble of the legacy financial system, to which we hear about the flip of the switch. Not necessarily a flip of the switch, but there might be an event to where these this technology becomes adopted at a scale much faster than any of us could ever as anticipated. A lot of people consider it like the payment rails. Imagine like LA traffic, and like LA traffic is awful. I was there. I'm in XRP Unleashed. Go see it. The last time I was in LA, I thought about this analogy. It would be like the payment rails right now of the world being like LA traffic. And then all this, and like Elon Musk, like building tunnels underneath the city. And it being like one day they're like, okay. And so you, and then the traffic problem in LA is completely solved. And you can get to point A to point B fast, quick, cheap type of thing. So.
Mm-hmm. Keda, what were you gonna say?
Well, I think what has happened is that when it comes to the word woke, I do feel like that word has been weaponized in a very, not even in the way that the word was meant to be utilized. What
Right.
because from what I
And woke
understand, if
means
you,
different things to different people now, doesn't it?
thank
Yeah.
you.
Are you
Because
woke or are you woke?
right. And which woke are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
I ain't that
And
kind of woke.
and the thing is that, to be honest with you, the actual meaning of being woke is just to have your eyes open.
Yeah.
So that you are aware of what's happening around you. That's what the meaning of being woke is. They've taken it and weaponized it and made it into something completely different than what it is.
New
So
mindset, that third eye woke.
the third eye, the
Uh,
pituitary gland that's right here in the middle of your head, your third eye. So when
uh-huh.
it comes down to it, right, I actually would rather be woke so that I understand what the hell is going on around here. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they
Come
want you
on.
to not be awake. They don't want you to see what's happening. They don't want you to know what they're doing in the world and to us with our money. That's the
Well, and
worst part of it.
that's how they I think that for me over the past 4 years, the change in definition was that woke is for the people who think they're awake, but they have so much more learning. And so the slang term is meant to represent the people who say, you know, I am for human rights, I am for that, but they have no idea about the monetary system. They have no idea about the financial shift. They have no idea about HARP. They have no idea about, you know, bioweapon labs. They have no idea about organ harvesting. They don't know what's actually going on. And so so I think for a lot of people, when they use the word woke, it's sort of like a colloquial term for the people who think that they're human rights advocates, while in fact they're literally cheering on the evil. And so I think that, like, but I totally agree with you. When I first started coming out and they were using the word woke, I was like, well, I'm awake. And so I think that that's the difference, is the difference between awake and woke is that you think that you're awake, but you actually are triggered over every actual fact, and that you can't actually look at facts, versus those of us who, like you were just talking about, like third eye intuition, connection to God, connection to source, connection to present moment, and that you are not triggered. Because the thing is that the being triggered is that there is a trauma in your body that causes you to turn a blind eye, because you're not triggered by the words or the information. You're actually triggered by your 16-year-old self, or your 13-year-old self, or your 5-year-old self who hasn't dealt with the trauma.
That's right.
And so I feel like this is, you know, and it's all, what's so fascinating about it is that it's all intertwined. And that's why, you know, Brooke, when you said your friends did an intervention, like, hey, I'm assuming your intervention was, hey, come hang out with us, you know, like, hey, come just like get out of the freaking internet and the information that, you know, and like, it is a burden. And, you know, there are moments where, like, you know, I've been truthing for 6 months and not doing the crypto thing and not building, because it is intimidating. This whole thing that's happening is so intimidating. My husband is the one that follows all the war stuff. And I just, like, that stuff triggers me so bad, because I'm like, the whole point is to demoralize us so that we don't work towards a common positive outcome. And sorry to interrupt, but that's,
can I say something? I since my awakening of everything, you know, I went to, like, you know, you think about being patriotic and supporting our, you know, veterans and all of that, you know, they fought for our freedom. And I still believe that they believed that they were used. And, you know, the more I learn about, you know, our dealings overseas, and, you know, I'm not okay with blowing up people, period. You know, and it's kind of sick and twisted, really.
Well, what makes it even
more
worse, Melissa, is the fact that they're doing it in the guise of starting this new financial system.
It's sickening.
I'm not
pisses
lost
me off.
to it. You know what I mean? And it's difficult. And the only way I can kind of rationalize what this is and how this works, and the people that are now involved, and realize, because there's yin and yang, you're going to have people who are good, and you're going to have your people that are bad. You have to. There's just no ifs, ands, buts about it. We're never going to have it just all be good people. Okay. But at the same time, to feel like the thing that's going to be able to give me back that time, the thing that's going to be able to give me back my freedom, the thing that's going to make me able to be able to help people in the world, is a thing that had to kill a bunch of people. Just the whole process of it.
And
No,
Money is a keystone.
It stinks, but
You see what you see?
there's
The
nothing
fact
new
that
under
you
the
pause,
sun.
but the fact that you
I
pause
feel
is a conundrum. It's the conundrum in you.
It is. It's. But you have to do what protects you, you know, and that's why I've been pretty vocal, because I didn't want people to be stuck in this. That's why in 2018 I started my homestead, because I could see I didn't predict that COVID would come.
Yeah.
And I didn't, you know, the money printing that came out of that, and the inflation
And
that
seeds
came
were
out of that.
scarce for you, weren't they?
Do what?
seeds were scarce for you, weren't they?
Yeah.
Everything
I
was
started a
scary.
garden too. I started a garden this year. I started a garden. So I do get it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? When I say I really want a homestead, I really mean that. Like I
Yeah.
really need that in my life.
And I want to live right next door to you so I can have some of your food, your snacks.
Oh
Here's
no,
the
I'm
thing,
talking
like that
about
you.
it's
So
right.
I hate gardening. I can raise a cow, like we have a little farm here, and so I
Hmm.
would need you, and
Yes,
so
to barter. Exactly. This is what we used
that
to do back in the day. We used to barter. A person that had just like you have cows. I would be able to give you some great vegetables and fruits, and
yep,
we would be able to trade. And that was what it used to be. And this is the thing. We have gotten so far from those traits and those types of skills that we need to instill in our kids.
yes, and
Amen.
that's why I've done what I've done. And if you think about it, so we have, as a civilization, we have as a whole moved to the theme of centralization.
Mhm.
Whenever
Yes.
you had it, even in our food, think about where you get your
Yes.
food. It's
We just trusted
centralized.
all
And
that
it's killing
shit.
us.
We just
And it's killing
trusted a
us.
blind trust, baby.
I'm
So
That
telling
was
you,
what we did.
it's killing us.
that's why
Ooh.
Optimistic Prime's project with her Wandering Footprint, that's the same concept. It's this idea of decentralizing centralized systems. So they can't tell us what we can eat at the store because I'm growing it at my home.
That
And
part.
Mhm.
and we have a community and we got to know our neighbors better, and I know that person who's gardening, and I know that that's the hope that comes out of this. Whenever I research, one of my favorite, I shouldn't say my, yes, I'll say it, one of my favorite eras to study is the Great Depression era, based
Mm.
that whole cycle, because it was a cycle. The Great Depression, probably just the whole 19th century was fascinating, I should say. Um, but they, I read journals from people and how community was ran, and people didn't have a lot,
Mhm.
but they had enough, and they had each other. And what we have right now, I think, we really do have a lot, and we don't have a very good sense of each other, and we
No.
don't know our neighbors. We don't have this sense of community. There's not this network, and I think that we see that on an emotional level in civilization, and a lot is tied to that. So I think decentralizing things and going back to the roots, and um, will all play a part even in a digital system. I sure hope it does, because too much of like extrapolating what all of this could do is pretty dystopian. So that's why I just made the decision to kind of, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if that looks like being like a hybrid in this world, or I don't know, but
But but here's the thing. What really is dystopian? Is it
Right.
really dystopian, or is it just that's what they're calling it because they don't want to call it traditional? Is that what
Oh.
it is?
oh,
Oh.
Oh,
Hmm.
they're trying to
Hmm.
make it seem like those
I
things
like
that you're talking about, Brooke,
yeah,
are are alien, and they're not
no,
Hmm.
by any
no.
stretch of the imagination.
It's
Stephanie,
really,
Stephanie tried to
oh,
chime in a
yeah,
couple times,
Stephanie.
but we can't see her face, so it's a
I'm
problem.
sorry.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, Stephanie.
I forgot. I'm excited. You guys are
It's
right on track. But we're just I don't even know what I was trying to jump in on. I was just saying fact sister, I guess.
It'll
okay.
come back if it does interrupt. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to say, Keda, it's interesting that you said that because, I think part of the awakening process and is consciousness, right? I believe that we're in the process of Christ consciousness. I believe that Jesus, Yahweh, Yeshua, whatever you want to call him, what he was here to tell us is like, I am the child of God, you too are the children of God, P.S., and that God works through the people, right? And so that I truly believe that it is the collective consciousness that we're rising in, those basics, like do unto others, treat yourself as well as you would treat others, for those of us who don't need to be told how to treat others but need to know
Correct.
how to self-care, and compassion and understanding and forgiveness and all these things, and that you get more by giving. And that ultimately it's funny that you brought it up, because it's something that I've actually been thinking over the past 48 hours, because I've been very conscious of the fact that like I have 9 years of university. Okay. In Canada, there is a difference between college and university. And I know in the States it's different, but in Canada, you know, university is your bachelor's degrees only. And I have 9 years. So I have my first degree is international development, politics, political economy, and administrative change, where I learned that all the benevolent institutions that I wanted to be a part of, I was trained to be like a diplomat, to be working for the UN. Like basically when everything went south in my life, my mom died when I was in university. The weekend I found out she had cancer, I was the representative of Ukraine at a mock NATO conference in 2003. Okay, so when all my friends tell me, what the hell do you know? Let me tell you what I know. And so for me, I've been like really reflecting back on like who I've become as a mother and what I've been, what I was trained to be. And I was raised by, I was an only child of a single mom who died when I was 20. And so what was so fascinating in the past 48 hours, I've had this thought that my mom, like, so my mom didn't vaccinate me in 1982. Okay. So she was like a colonic therapist, a massage therapist, and an art therapist in the 80s. She was an aromatherapist. She was the rainbow sheep / black sheep in the 70s and 80s. She was a hippie, and I was raised by her, and all she wanted was for me to go to university. And so my whole, you know, I was a 90s student. I did exchange programs. I speak 3 languages. I've, you know, traveled by myself as well as through exchange programs in high school. And I'm remembering conversations I used to have about, you know, the difference between sex and gender. I'm looking at conversations I used to be taught about the family unit, on women's work, on, you know, all these things. And I'm starting to see, like, in a way, I'm glad that, like, you know, being a human, we have this innate need to, Stephanie, if you recall what you're going to say, please interrupt. We have this innate need to, you know, in your teenage years, rebel. Like we need to rebel. And so like having something to rebel against is super important for us as humans. And so I'm glad that like I actually went through this process of being conscious while learning all these things and questioning it. Like my second degree is my Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and I quit 4 days before the end of my second last semester. And the last complaint,
you didn't.
The last complaint against me was that I asked too many questions, Keda.
Damn.
Isn't that what they teach us to do as a nurse?
So that was my argument, is that I had spent 4 years in my degree, and I was like, wait a second. And that, you know, God, I at this point I say it's God, because I have no other answer, because God was like, you know, the life that you are searching for is not going to be found here. And I thought it was going to give me financial security for the first time in my life. Like I was raised on welfare, right? So like I've always been broke my whole life. I've done all these amazing things, but broke off my ass. And I really believe that, like, you know, that you fix systems from the inside out. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get my nursing. I'm going to have the education that I need to prove that I actually know what I'm saying. And then my second last semester, I was in acute mental health, and I was mind blown at how the gaslighting. I was mind blown at the level of sedating people who were having spiritual experiences, who were trying to navigate the lies, who were, you know, struggling with the fact that, like, the world that we live in is trying to is telling you you're crazy because you don't feel comfortable in the society that we have, where I believe you're perfectly fine. It's the society that's the problem. And that if only we could actually create an infrastructure, thanks, Scotty. If we can only create like a world that we actually want, that supports because I mean, if we look back at everything and we look at what this whole discussion is really about, is the fact that, like, you know, anybody who says they're anti-capitalist, they don't get it. They don't get that, like, capitalism is a beautiful thing. The problem with capitalism right now is that there is 12 families and a group of the 1%ers that get a percentage of every single dollar printed. And these are the people that make policy. These are the people that run the world. These are the people that trade your bonds. These are the people that would rather get your organs than have you live a fruitful and happy life with your family.
Well, you're worth more dead than you are alive. Sorry.
And that's where we're at. And I think ultimately being able to recognize that 100 years, for 2,000 years, the evil, the dichotomy that is the dark and light has infiltrated every good aspect of society, and that it is really, the rebellion is self-empowerment. The rebellion is self-love. The rebellion is community. The rebellion is going back to the old ways. And ultimately, you know, there is a thing called, for many of you probably don't know, there's an eighth fire prophecy. There you can look the eagle and the condor prophecy, the white buffalo woman prophecy. There's a lot of prophecies in the indigenous cultures that talk about a time. And the eighth fire prophecy is from the Anishinaabe people, which is where I grew up, which is like the land where I got my tied the knot, and I created the Ohm in a hole at the Warsaw Caves in Ontario. And so I have like a lot of connection to that land and that prophecy. And it says that there will come a time when the pale-skinned race will have a choice to make. And that ultimately, you know, if you, and then it's been sort of extrapolated, because it's like, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years old, this prophecy, that essentially, you know, you have a choice of technology, science, metaverse, the matrix, versus coming back to community and coming back to present moment and coming back to the old ways. And I truly believe there's a balance. And that's where, like, for me, that's where I'm trying to go, is because I think all of these things are meant to discourage you. They're meant to demoralize you, because what people don't really get is that every single action on the planet is hearts and minds. And if you know anything about quantum physics, and you know anything about the double slit experiment, and that all thoughts are energy, and that all actions are derived from energy, it's not woo woo. You can actually go and, like, you know, it's real. It's all real. Like, the human body has an energy field, and that it is literally what we think that creates 100%. Our actions that create the changes in the world. And so it is my hypothesis that integrating the Looking Glass project, that they couldn't see past this time. And I believe that this is the 0 point. What we are in, it's not like a one day or a one moment thing. It's a gradual sort of in and out thing. And like 13 days from now, I sort of believe that's the 0 point. And that ultimately the 0 point is that what that what we think as a collective comes to fruition. And so if you are trying to convince the population that they have no say, that their life is, you know, worthless, that they are worthless, then they will just, you know, when they, like, what they always say, like, create the problem, offer the solution. So they don't want the average person having an innovative thought in order to create. And then, right, just back to what I was just saying about the capitalism, is that all of the great patents that would free us have been stolen. They're suppressed. Like, it's not capitalism. It's not the ingenuity of the people. It's not the creative force of the people that's the problem. It's the fact that we have a dominant 1% population that controls all methods of information, that limit our ability to believe in ourselves as a collective. And I believe that this is what the shift is. The shift is into this new way of finding the balance between technology and the old ways of coming back to community, of coming back to purpose, of coming back to movement. You know, and I always say the difference between us and trees is that we can move. So move. You know, and that the allowance of life is the thing. And I think that, you know, blockchain is a very fascinating thing for me, because I've always loved mathematics, but I hated calculus. I hated, like, all I actually hated, what is it? I actually had lost the moment.
Algebra?
Economics. What is it? Like macro. So the only course I ever failed. Only course I ever failed my whole damn life was macroeconomics. And here we are trying to understand the macro image, the giant vision of, you know, our economic shift, along with the physical, emotional, spiritual shift that we're in, and how it all ties in. And what I think is so fascinating is that the blockchain is a numbers representation of the macro. It is a micro representation of the collective consciousness. And I think ultimately, you know, the dreams we have of the QFS, the dreams we have of like the redemption and all that stuff that, you know, many of us have like investigated and talked about, it all comes back to the hearts and minds thing. And that ultimately, that's why I came on the show. That's why I'm part of these conversations. That's why I built the Wandering Footprint, is because I believe that demoralization is literally the way that they're trying to control. Because if you are thinking that you are the hero of your own story and you are in action of that purpose through this shift, there ain't nothing that can stop it. They want you to be sitting there being like, I'm so lost. Please give me the
They
solution.
want you in fear because fear is a liar and it paralyzes
And it
people.
controls.
Fear.
And it controls. Exactly. Yeah. New mindset says, drive that bus, girl. Drive that bus.
For what I was going to talk about, real quick. That's what we do on the office. We say real quick.
Listen.
The one is, I grew up in the suburbs of DC, pretty upper, you know, not rich, but very well off, and we didn't have fluoride in our water, and this was in '88, and now to this day, now two things I bring out of this. One, they are the smartest people. They're doctors, they're lawyers, their brains haven't been contaminated. You know, everybody says the fluoride did something. And then, but at the same time, I feel like they were also being bred. They work in the DC area. And, you know, it's like, it's got a scary thing. So that's what I was going to drop in with. I agree with that. But it's just, at the time, I just thought, oh, shit, I'm going to have crappy teeth. And I do. But I'm not stupid. So there's that. Yay. And then the other one was the mental health thing that you were touching on. You know, I mean, I've been through some crazy shit. I'm diagnosed with the PTSD. I have a service dog for it. I've got my issues. The first time I put myself into a VA, you know, mental treatment stuff, they drugged the shit out of me. I mean, to the point of I was a zombie for quite a while. I felt nothing. The second time I put myself in there was when my identity was stolen. Do you know when I went in there, I pretended like I wasn't crazy. I mean, I didn't tell them that I was paranoid to turn on my phone. I didn't tell, because they would have drugged me again. I just needed a place to be around other like-minded people, which is why I put myself in that VA place. And they gave me a roof over my head while I was on the computer learning all of this stuff, because I watched the other girls who were going through it, whose I didn't, you know, where their phones were being hacked, and they were freaking out, and they were just drugging the hell out of them, and they were not helping them. They were, it's in your head, you're imagining it, and blah blah blah. And I totally believed what they were saying, and I just kept saying to them, I know it's terrible and you want to spread it, but you just keep it to yourself, and just, are they just going to keep drugging you? And that's what they did. So
that's why I quit nursing school, because I was like, these are my people. Like, I should not be on the other side of the glass. Like, these are totally my people. I get much. That's the thing, is that the whole system, they've infiltrated the churches, they infiltrated the Boy Scouts, they infiltrated all of the sports, they infiltrated all the good, including the nurses, who were always supposed to be separate from the medical institution. Florence Nightingale's entire approach, the mother of nursing, her entire approach was that the patient needs an advocate. And just like the midwives, they streamlined it to be part of their Rockefeller medical system, also known as snake oil. And, you know, and then completely, like you guys talked about at the very beginning, up is down, down is up, good is bad, and bad is good. And we have to be in a stage right now where, at the very beginning, you guys were talking about your journey into this space. And when the whole pandemic happened, I had a lot of hate because I didn't change. And I'm exactly who I was.
Back, man,
you know,
the mask holes. They kept, you know, telling us we were wrong and we got to do this. It's like, the more I fought back, the crazier I was. The more the bad guys came after me. The more, to the point of just disgusting. And you know, they're teaching it in the universities, like you were saying. My kids my son's girlfriend, they've been together since they were 14. They're 24 now. She went to this high-end art school in Savannah, and they have literally turned those children against me. I mean, because they've turned them against me. Now, I'm okay with that right now because I'm an adult, they're an adult, and I'm going to do my thing. One day, maybe, we'll get back to where they are, but they know so much more about the stuff that's going online, and they have been just conditioned to think we're just batshit crazy, or we're idiots, or we've got it coming, and we were saying earlier, these people know how, these kids were trained on these computers to know how to do this stuff, and we weren't. And all you have to do is, somebody's grandfather might have said, why isn't that kid out there playing baseball? Why is he on the computer all the time? And it might have hurt him at one point. So somebody comes around with $100 and says, hey, can you write this code and do this? Sure. And they, why not? It's not going to affect me. Screw these old people. They weren't nice to me while I was on my computer. And I mean, we did it to, our generation did it to these young people. And so I'm hoping, like you all with these younger kids than mine, can bring that back, because I've lost my kids right now. I've lost them.
Well, I was just gonna say that, God love you, because I think a lot of parents with growing kids, this is what they've had to go through. But just to finish my thought, what I was gonna say is that the most painful accusation I had that has actually is now a badge of honor is my cousin told me that I was a threat to civil society. And I was really pained by that. I actually blocked her over it. I was like, yeah, no, we ain't doing this anymore. And I was crying to my husband. It was 2020. And he's like, well, society isn't that civil, Amanda. So maybe that's okay. And I was like, totally. I am a threat to the society that is not civil, because I live in a world where we actually are civil, and we actually believe that you can't fight for peace. You can't fight for peace. You
I
have
look
to
at
embody
it as
it.
I look at it as them calling
that
you
was
a badass.
that's what I was gonna say. I would look at that as a compliment. You're a
Yeah,
threat to
you're a
society. You're
badass.
damn
Badge of
right I
honor.
am.
These
Badge of
bad guys
honor,
Hell yeah.
came after me hard. I was a wild card. I mean, when we talk about my stories on that island, and I was trying to tell people that the island was under cyber attack, and I mean, they came at me hard. My office was trash. My tires. I mean, I was carrying a gun. I mean, they beat me. They beat me to the point where I had to leave what I loved and cherished to regain my peace of mind. But they didn't beat me all the way, because I'm still here and I'm fighting this good fight. I'm doing it another way. Doing it another way. I do miss my
Self-love
island.
is the rebellion.
I do miss my island. But everybody's talking about this 13-day reset thing. And what you were saying earlier about 13 days. Do you think we're going to be on the right side of it? Do you think the right side's going to come out of this? Or I worry. You know where I'm going with that?
Well, worrying doesn't change anything.
Yeah. I don't worry that much.
Good night, Jesus. Good night. Who else left? Northern Living had to jump off. I'm sure you guys noticed that Brooke had to take off. She did tell me earlier that if she dipped out, she had some family responsibilities. So I do want to take the time to say thank you for having her come on the show, and I can't wait to listen back to it, because I mean, there's just so many there's so much information being dropped in this show tonight. I really
appreciate it. I think we would just keep this conversation going on if anybody was listening to us or not, or watching or not.
Well, and I'm glad you have a backup Rumble channel, honestly, Melissa, because I tell everybody, like, especially if you have me and my peeps on, like the 3-4 of us are, like, you need to have a channel on Rumble, because most likely if you continue down these conversations, your YouTube will go down, and that's okay. And I think ultimately, like, back to your question, I'm Canadian. So, I had Trump derangement syndrome, even though I'm Canadian, and even though I knew that the whole world is messed up for 20 years, I just thought he was part of it. So, like, it wasn't that I thought that the other side was good. I just didn't think he was any better than the other side. And it took me till 2020 for me to be like, wait a second, they all hate him. Like, I like the guy that the things I hate, you know, like, okay. And my kids just said, they saw a picture of him the other day. It's like, is that the guy that God loves? And I said, yes, it is, because they know about the assassination attempt. And I said, well, God decided. So, you know, for me, I believe that, you know, I was following 2020 election and the Lucifer satellite, and that they were watching the you know, the ballots be changed over. And I thought 4 years ago that this was going to be switched over. And my hope is that they removed all the avenues that they used in 2020, and that the ones that they didn't, that there's so much excitement and hope in the American population of getting back to what's important. And 20 years ago, when I was learning about, you know, I watched The Corporation. You should watch that if you haven't watched it. It was made in 2001, I think, or 2002. And I remember thinking, what will it take for the American people to realize that they are being democided by their leaders, and that these leaders are going out into the world in the name of being American and basically attacking the world? And I wondered, you know, the average American was very comfortable in their little life, and they didn't know that all the good things that were happening in their life were based on the exploitation of the rest of the world. And that what I've seen in the past 4 years is the American population has woken up. And that is just the most beautiful thing I could ever ask for in 20 years. And that there's any hope. And like the Amish are voting, so, you know,
Yeah.
and that I
Ooh,
believe that, like,
No,
say that the
that's
Amish are
something.
voting.
Mm-hmm.
they have
The
250,000 Amish registered to vote.
Yep.
But do
Love
you
that.
see? This is what scares me about that. Is it the Amish that are voting, or is it somebody? You know what I mean? I'm so.
Well, I
paranoid.
follow this guy who's going door to door, and he's talking to the Amish people, and he does TikToks.
Oh,
And he
good.
shows the conversations he's having with these people who've never voted in their life and who live sovereignly. You know, they own their collective land. They literally, I wish I could just, you know, they could just teach us all lessons on how they've done it, because really they've been holding the light for all of us while we didn't even know it. And I think that there is, you know, they want you to be demoralized. And I think that there's going to be such an enormous wave of people who have hope, who are voting for Donald Trump. And regardless of whether or not you love him or hate him, he definitely is fighting the good fight. And that it really was, you know, when he became president, he said, this is the first time, you know, what did he say? I'm giving it back to the people. He's like, I'm not taking presidency. I'm giving the power back to the people. And most people don't understand what that means. That is sovereignty.
Yeah.
That is going back to the Constitution. And
I would-
ultimately,
Can I address something?
please.
So we have a new listener, Jennifer, popped in and said, "Aren't y'all supposed to be talking crypto?"
And this is,
Uh,
we are
2.5 hours later.
yeah.
No,
And
but
so-
we are. We've been
and
talking about it
So I
all.
just want to say, like, first of all, we have been talking about crypto. The other thing is that, you know, this is there were 5 of us. Now there's 4 of us at this time. We kind of went around and talked a little bit about ourselves, what we've been doing in the space. But this is the beauty of the digital asset space, the crypto space, is most people that are investigating and researching this are also giving attention to the world events that are going on around us, because it's all tied together. Money is the keystone. Money ties everything together, whether it's
Follow the money.
corruption or, you know, it's the power of the purse. And for a very
Follow the
long
money.
time, we have been, you know, strongholded over time, have the money held over us still. And now we're moving to having the opportunity for the possibility to have a decentralized system where you own your own identity and you control. You don't need the intermediaries. You could be your own bank and those sort of things. And with that comes responsibility for yourself to give attention to the things that are going on in the world and how the whole world is connected and understand the whole world is connected. And so these types of conversations are very important if you're going to dip your toe into the crypto space.
That part.
I like to
You
say,
know, it's not for sissies. Crypto ain't for sissies. You gotta do some work. You gotta do some work. You gotta make moves. You gotta make them major moves, like Mr. Man says.
And read things to the end.
And it's not even about just the crypto and the financial. It's the blockchain. It's the security. It's bringing all of this together to become a decentralized nation or global world. So there's so much more to it than just the financial freedom. And wind moon might happen, wind moon might not happen. I don't care anymore. All I know is it's woken me up, and being part of the crypto community.
As they were saying earlier, all wars are bankers' wars, right? And you can see in this current politics thing, and love them or hate them, the whole Donald Trump thing. I know it strikes a nerve with people.
Not anymore.
I don't really like what's that?
I went to a Trump rally.
So did I. Several of them.
And I'm going to tell you, I had left my dog with some friends because she freaks out if I'm gone. And they were like total Democrats, left wings, right? And I mean, I got these recordings on my phone, right? Of him saying, do not let the Democrats use the vaccine as a weapon. Not the vaccine, excuse me. The coronavirus, or whatever they called it at the time. Do not let them, they're using it as a weapon. The flu is just as deadly. And he's saying they're going to weaponize this. And he
don't let it paralyze you.
He worded it. And he was talking about, by the time I got back to pick up my dog, these people had heard on the news that Trump was up there saying that the Democrats created the coronavirus and are using it as a weapon. 100% different than what he had just said. So if you can't get away from the TV, and that's pretty much, it was my son that turned me on to YouTube, to be honest with you, because I was so deep down in these rabbit holes of the news. And then I've got two stories about this. The elections, I believe the reason he won the first time around was because they didn't take him serious. And so they didn't rig the election. So they didn't feel like they had to. They just didn't think they had to. So they just didn't. But the second time around, my son, he was 19 at the time, and he's in cybersecurity, and he gives me this phone call, and I'm a mother, mind you, so and he's like, I'm being vetted to be part of the election at the booths. I said, what do you mean? Like, the guy that says, the computers, to work the computers, make sure the computers are right and running. And as a mother, I'm like, oh, that's freaking great. I'm so proud of you. As an adult, I'm thinking he's 19 years old. He is not fucking qualified for this, right? But I kept my mouth shut, and I was proud of him. And a couple weeks later, I get up with him, and I'm like, whatever, so are you taking the job? He said, no, I'm not taking this job. Because the people that are in charge are a bunch of dimwits. They're flighty. They can't get their stuff together. He goes, and now he's a smart kid. And he goes, I just did not have time for their nonsense. Do you know when the election happened, the very first county that was sued for election fraud was Chatham County, Georgia, and that's the county that he was in. My son could have been a part of that. But what I'm getting at is they set them kids up. They set them kids up to be running those because there was fraud. They were flighty. They were numbnuts. And my son, by the grace of God, could have had his life ruined because he got a bar, but he figured it out. They set those kids up. So I know it was fraud is what I'm getting at. Anyway, that's my
I'll say this. I don't like to get into the politics of things, but part of the whole awakening journey, as I actually started doing that before I got into crypto, which was very helpful for me. But when I was never a fan of Donald Trump, I didn't watch his TV show. I liked him when I was younger. I remember seeing him on Oprah and different things. And I remember thinking, you know, this guy, he was very mild mannered and stuff in his interviews back in the day. But then I'd always roll my eyes when I'd see the stuff in the National Enquirer and the money and the women, and I'm just like, whatever, you know. And then when the show came out, all my friends loved him. They loved the show, the You're Fired show, whatever that was. I never watched it. I think I've watched like 1 or 2 episodes of it. And so when he was running for president, I'm like, oh God, come on, you know, like give me a break. But I really didn't like I wasn't, well, I'll just tell you. I could not stand Hillary Clinton, and my Ryan was saying, why? And I said, I don't like her effing face, you know. And he's like, well, Melissa, you can't just say you don't like someone's face. And I was like, well, there's more reasons why I don't like her. But in any event, I started really looking in, and I was like, okay, you want to know why I don't like her? Because of this and this and that and whatever. But I didn't like Trump. And so I was like, oh, geez. And I started listening to the news, and they would say, Trump said this or Trump said that, just like you were saying, Stephanie. And I was like, he's not really saying this, you know. I only got on Twitter because I wanted to see that Trump really said something that the news was saying that he said. And when I got on there, I saw it, and I was like, yeah, well, he did say that. And then I started seeing reports of them taking certain things that he said out of context. And I would go and I'd listen to the entire thing, and I'd say, well, that's not what he said at all. That's not what it meant at all. And it kept happening time and time and time again.
That's what changed my vision, Melissa.
Yeah.
Changed
First of all, I do want to apologize for my cussing. I am a sailor. It's kind of a bad habit I'm working on.
I always said I love being a pirate more than I love being a lady. So go right ahead, even though we're on the internet. I'm a swearer too.
All us good Christian ladies, and I'm dropping the F-bomb left and right. Anyway, I apologize. And the other one, oh, now I forgot what I was going to say. I don't remember.
Well, it'll come back to you. But Melissa, what you were saying about the TDS, like, I think it's so fascinating to look at it. Like, I used to have arguments with people about it. And I think ultimately, for me, it was the children. For me, it was EO 13818 and realizing that he had made any effort to say, if you are involved in crimes against humanity, we are going to freeze your accounts and take your assets. And I believe that that is the only thing that will change. I believe that EO is the foundation of what's happening with the Diddy thing, with what's happening with just the Abercrombie and Fitch thing. I mean, we've been waiting for this to come to mainstream for so long. And the fact that we are literally witnessing Abercrombie and Fitch going down right now, 13 days before your election. And like, for me, most people don't know Epstein. My friend who like works for the government, gets her $35 an hour job, to, you know, never been to university, never been to college, but she works for the government. She gets her happy little money, and she does not question anything. She knew nothing about Epstein, but she mentioned Diddy last week. I was like, oh, look at you. Interesting. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, we are witnessing the dark coming to light. And whatever way we get there, I am cheering the F on. And, you know, I don't know. I believe in pronoia. I believe that God has a plan. I believe that the universe is conspiring in our favor, even though half the time it doesn't look that way. And that the truth wins. And that ultimately, you know, Melissa, you and I have had many a conversation about the stuff we don't, you know, all the other stuff we don't talk on the internet about, even though we talk about a lot of stuff on the internet. And I believe that, you know, it's growing pains and the end is not for everyone. And that, you know, drip, drip, drip disclosure. And it is hard. It is hard to come through the fire and recognize that you are the hero of your own story, and that your story matters more than anything, and that your history and the child, you know, all the stories you were told to not tell anybody as a child are the stories that will change the world. And I just want to take a minute and say I am so unbelievably proud of people like Catrepreneur, I think she is on, where she's interviewing all the victims of the trafficking and all the victims, because these are the things we're fighting against. And for me, this is why, bring it all back to XRP, is that I learned that, when I started learning about blockchain, I met a lady who told me that when she first started buying Bitcoin, she was buying a little piece of paper from the 7-Eleven and then going to an alley and knocking on a random door and getting a card with her Bitcoin on it. And I was like, that sounds like the physical representation of the dark web. And then I was like, wait a second. And then that guy, whatever his name is, Pena, he said, if you knew the person who created Bitcoin, you would run away as fast as possible. And so it is my belief that, yes, blockchain has been being used on the dark web and to launder money, to support all these wars and to support the trafficking pandemic. And that ultimately, for me, XRP and XLM and these transparent ISO 20022 compliant tokens are the representation of full transparency, and that make the deal.
Can I say something real quick?
And I
want to ask a question. Who do you think Dave Penna's audience is before we found him? Because nobody was listening to that guy before. Who do you think his audience before we found him? Who do you think it's audience?
1%ers.
Okay. So when you realize that and you listen to that statement again, I don't think if you knew who it was, you'd run away from it, right? Because I agree with you, Amanda.
That's an interesting caveat, Miss Melissa.
Because I have long said, that a lot of those people are stupid, and I followed the Q thing. I'll say, Fruition Productions in the house. I followed this stuff for years and years. When they're talking about that, and they would say the follow the money, they would say news unlocks the map and all these types of things. But
hey, Miss Maya, how are you?
Having someone like Dave Penna say that and believing, they would say these people are stupid. Well, you had a lot of people for the longest time being able to do things in the back pages, in the back door, in the
2,000 years,
right? Doing whatever the frick they wanted. And finally, they thought they thought they had a tool, and they did for a little while. They had a tool that they could do. They transferred over. Oh, this is better than using cash, they thought, right? This is electronic. This is faster. We don't have to fly the money in an airplane over to another country or whatever because it's a lot of money. We can just send the Bitcoin. Well, guess what? It's not as anonymous as you thought it was, right? So when Dave says that, or Dan, or whatever his name is, I still think, whether they intended, they built it with the intention for that, or whether they built it for some other reason, and that is the end result is still the same. It doesn't matter. So the
ones using it didn't realize that they could be traced.
They thought they got people
magic money using, and they had no idea that all that shit was being recorded on the blockchain, or that people were going to figure out how to trace it to the blockchain.
Well, and then you got these other people that get involved in it. Like I said, a lot of folks got caught up in and this is nothing against Bitcoin, okay? Because I still believe Bitcoin is not going anywhere. And, some things can start out one way and end up another, which is exactly what I think it went. And there was the narrative and everyone parroting the same language when it came to Bitcoin. And so, I was in spaces or private chats with people and stuff where, people they want to be their own bank and they want to have their sovereignty and their anonymity. I think I said that right. They don't, they don't want nobody to know who they are. And so, you had people you send it to here and then it goes to there and it kind of washes it. And then they got, so this is all clean, different Bitcoin, right? And I mean, these people think that shit is fine, that they could do it that way, or you just use Monero and it's privacy coin or whatever. They can track it. They know. So
there's talking about Litecoin. I'm going to tell you, CK, something about Litecoin. Litecoin, they're data harvesters as well. They're trying to tell you that they're going to, you can use the blockchain to protect your data and whatnot, but they are storing your data in a data protection base. So we're not going to go down that, but I want to talk real quick about taking things out of narrative. Charles Hoskinson, love him or hate him. Same thing with Trump. Same thing. Love him or hate him.
I feel the same way about him, because there's times when I listen to him and I'm like, I really like this guy. And then I hear him again and I'm like, I don't really like this guy.
Listen, he's done a lot for me. I mean, I can't even tell you what he's done for me, just his whiteboards and stuff like that. But I have a whole story about that. But this is what I think has happened. Because Cardano does one thing and the XRPL does another thing. Years ago, I figured out that Cardano and the XRPL community would work together. These blockchains are made for each other, the data protection side of it. And and I'm figuring all this out. So if I'm figuring it out, he is, obviously. And he made a comment and he reached out to the XRP community because I think he was ready to, and this is before midnight, like this was during the inception of midnight. And he reached out to the XRP community and I was like in tears. I was so excited about it. And damn, if they did not take what he said out of context, flip it around and turn the entire XRP army against this man who all he was trying to do was, without the smart contracts and the whatever, XRP's not going to do shit. So they've really been trying to take him out of the equation with Midnight, even though it is his baby and it is his inception, because it's going to make a huge difference for the XRPL. And they screwed it up. They put it back a couple years just by messing with this man's words. So keep that in mind, you guys. Watch Midnight. It is definitely going to accelerate the XRPL, but it's a Charles Hoskinson's baby. And why else would they pick a 50-year-old woman to be part of their DevNet? No one else in the community, when we applied, was talking about the XRP. And boy, did they grab up on me fast. So
because you're a badass, Stephanie. That's why.
Because I figured out that it's going to work, and without Midnight or without the data protection, we're not going to be able to use the XRP the way we want to, which is not.
I agree with you.
So I think
I can't wait till you interview her. I'll definitely be coming in for that conversation, because I think problem is there's so much information. I mean, just like everything, right? There's just so many rabbit holes, and it takes years to really figure it all out. And when it comes to blockchain, if you're just dipping a toe, it's intimidating. And so even me 4 years in, I've really, when Uphold liquidated all of my tokens and Binance kicked Canadians off, I'm my ADA disappeared, my HBAR disappeared, my XDC disappeared. And so all of these other blockchains have become just sort of peripheral. And so I'm very excited about listening to and now I'm definitely going to follow you. Maybe I am following you, but just putting your face to your context and your conversation. I'm so excited to have you here. And thank you so much again, Melissa, for having this space and letting us just talk and allowing the conversation to just flow. This is exactly the conversation. I mean, Spaces is fine, but I really have a hard time with not seeing people's faces when I'm having conversations. And even though Stephanie's blocked, at least I see her picture. I don't know. It's just a little bit different when it's in a place like this. And but I did want to just throw out that Fruition Productions did just put that thing out.
I know that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
CK, follow Fruition Productions, CK, and bring that Cardano community to the XRPL. She's just created an amazing documentary that is going to expose a lot of these hidden hands, and it's called XRPL or XRP Unleashed. Shout out to Maya. You guys go ahead and you give her a shout out as well too.
Yeah, we interviewed Maya last week We interviewed Maya, and they are selling out of tickets. So if you guys wanted to go to an in-person premiere, they have several different locations. You can go to fruitionproductions.com and buy your tickets there. You can also buy a streaming version of a
Yes.
pre-sale for $15. And with that, you'll get there's like a preamble, I guess, some little extra gems that you get.
20-minute what is it? Prologue, the
Prologue.
beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah. 20
Yeah.
minutes at the beginning, released early.
Are any of y'all going Europe and Canada? So probably, I don't know if they're doing a Canada showing.
In the new year, they said they might, which I'm like, because I just can't wait to hug Maya. I just want to see her so bad, just like you guys. Like, I just can't. I hope I can make Vegas some place that you guys are at one point, because, like you were saying at the very beginning, like, just putting, just like, my kids are like, who's that? I'm like, you know, my people. Like, I know, the friends we have here are the people who just, like, I'm amicable with all people. I ain't gonna have a fight, but these people are not people I actually have real conversations with. And to be quite honest with you, it's very hard to have friends that you don't have real conversations with. And I do it because I'm like, kind and thoughtful, and it's nice to have, people who like my kids. But ultimately, you're my family, and I just, like, cannot wait to spend time with, like, you guys in real life, and Maya especially, because she's just such a giant light. And I know that she doesn't promote it, but, like, she's been writing a book. So she hasn't promoted it yet, but, like, I was really hoping it would be released by the time this comes out. But, like, they've been so busy, like, it's impossible. But, like, keep your eye out for that, because this girl is, like, a firecracker, but she's more than that. She's like really a gift sent by God, I believe, and that this gift she's trying to give humanity with her husband is truly something that is, like, it's such a privilege to have a front row seat to all this, guys. Like, it's a privilege to know you. It's a privilege to be here. It's a privilege to be watching this from this perspective. And even though I haven't been there in real life with you, I'm moved to tears just talking about how, like, you guys have enriched my life. These conversations have enriched my life in a way that I can't even tell you. And, like, just the comments, like, it just makes me feel like it's okay, Amanda. Like, it's okay that you think the way you do, and you act the way you do, and you are the way you are, even if none of your friends think you're, everybody thinks you're crazy in real life. Like, these people are real life. They're just scattered.
That's right.
And that was
I do have to tell you all, first off, I always love chopping it up with Melissa, and being able to have these conversations with you all is just so awesome, because it really makes you not feel like you're crazy. I think that's what you were almost trying to say. Optimistic. And it's so interesting to be able to get those conversations and to get it out, and they have somebody say, yeah, I thought that too. Oh my gosh, that was me, So, and that's the beauty of these types of conversations, and the fact that we come from all different walks of life. You know what I mean? We all do. I sat and I'm listening to Optimistic, and I'm like, no, you didn't, just 4 days before. Stop it. And everything that you said really resonated with me. You don't know this, but I work for an agency that works with consumers who have special needs and have mental health behaviors that live in group homes. That's what I do. You know what I mean? And I do get that. I do see how people are medicated and almost medicated out of here. You know what I mean? I see it. At the same time, I'm also learning ways to be able to mitigate without medication, be able to redirect, and be able to have those types of conversations, and also listen. Because in most instances, when you have a person who's struggling with some mental health issues, they just want to be heard. And it's
Keda,
important.
and I say that all the time: meditate, don't medicate. And when the bad guys, the hidden hands, locked me into a house and took away my beach and took away my ability to be me, it made me crazy, and it took away my meditation. I couldn't get out on that beach, and I fought as hard as I could, and I'm regrouping. I'll be back on an island again someday, but in the meantime, I got you guys, and I like Amanda, I get teary too just listening to all this. It's been an amazing space, Melissa. Thank you for having it. It's 3 hours of us just going on, man.
I did
know,
not
and I need
expect
to
it to
eat.
go 3 hours. I know. I got to go too.
I gotta eat.
I want to, holy smokes, I cannot believe how long this went. I want to thank everyone that came to the show.
Productions, I was having a hard time doing it, but someone asked for it for the signing up.
The link to the Fruition Productions.
Yeah, the page. I was
oops.
Thank you guys.
What I just did.
Great. We
While you're posting that, I just wanted to say that I talked even since the beginning when Keda and Melissa and I were on the other ladies' night. We used to talk about how we're just trying to find the people who will be on the island with, and that this whole process is us sifting out the real people from the fake people, so that when we're all billionaires, we know who to hang out with.
I'm a bit follow XRP Bags, you guys. He's a great friend of mine, great mentor, and he sings songs, and they're silly at first. You'll be like, what the hell? But he's got a song called Island Hopping, and my name comes from one of his songs because it's called Ghost, and it goes, and when we blow, ain't no told you so, I'm a big ghost.
It's so great.
I do want to say too, to those, so because Simon I don't know how long Simon's going to be working this night shift, and not be able to join me. So I'm going to be flying solo for at least several weeks. So I would love it for you ladies to come back, and we could do this again. If there's folks that are listening that are in the chat, and you want to come on to the show, be on the show, or we could do a ladies show again. If there's men in there that would love to come on the show, I'd love to.
I would love to have men in it spaces with me, because I'm only ever on ladies' night.
So maybe next week. I don't know. I don't know what everyone's schedule is. I'm just saying.
This is my first. This is my first lady space. I'm always in just men's spaces. So
ironic.
we can mix it up. And I was just going to say, if you are interested, email us at dipatoshow@gmail.com. Or reach out to us on Twitter. My ex, I'm World Be Free at more crypto. And I'd love to get a variety of folks in here, because Simon and I, when we created this show, it's really about helping just the average person who's dipping their toe into the space. And I think it really helps to have these conversations with people, because we all bring a little something to the table, a little diversity to the table, and in things that we know, and the things that we believe in, and things that we do. And we might not agree on every single aspect, but we give food for thought for each other. So, I might have something that I'm thinking in one direction, and then somebody gives a little tip, and then you're like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. And so it just really helps us put all these dots together, connect them, and formulate better opinions, and try to help other people do the same thing. So I just, I love you guys. I really appreciate you.
Real quick.
Thank you so much.
I went ahead and did that first ledger, and I created a meme coin called Midnight Memes, and I'm going to be teaching the Cardano people how to use the XRPL, and we're going to make some fun with this, because Midnight stands. We represent zero knowledge proofs, which is ZKPs. It's a big deal. It's a big secret scroll shit. But the theme is for those with zero knowledge, and we'll show you.
What's the ticker? I have this first ledger thing, and I'm getting addicted. So what's the ticker?
Now, because I haven't started shilling it to the Cardano community yet, and you just wait.
Well, you can shill it to me.
Insider trading at its best right here, fam.
No, it's outsider trading. This goes on the internet. Everybody has access.
No, I mean, it's MID, MID, and it's got the
MID, okay. Can you maybe somewhere like below when Melissa posts this to her ex, could you post the issuer account? Because there's a lot of imposters. And so a lot of times if your token's going to start being good, I noticed on the first ledger, like a bunch of things that I was going to follow, I put it in and it was like, it was a copy. It wasn't the original. So if you could just put the issuer like underneath this posting so that I could go look it up, I mean, I'm just going to put one XRP because that's how I play this game. But, you know, it's one.
It's one, and it's fun. And you know what? That one XRP, once I get the card on, it's gonna move. No, that's how we show in the meme space. All right, give me a second. I'll go to my
Not financial advice.
I do want to say this. I'm supposed to have said it at the beginning of the show. I've gotten advice. Nothing on this show is financial advice. This is a do your own research space. We say cryptos ain't for sissies. Anything that you've heard on this show, go look into it for yourself, make your own decisions, pull your big boy panties and undies up and whatnot, and make your own decisions. Take the onus. I also want to say hello to Susan Roblin. Thank you, my friend. Hopefully
She's a
maybe
founder. She's a Watering Footprint founder. She's part of my crew.
All right. Well, and I'm happy. And Atlantic Living also is here. I want to say hello to Atlantic Living. And Rosemary, we love you, girl.
We love you, Rosemary.
We will get.
I wish she would come on one of these.
I invited her, and she said she likes being in the chat. Maybe one of these days we can talk her to come in. You know, that's the other thing I want to say is, you know, you don't have to have your camera on. I mean, Stephanie doesn't have her camera on. It's better sometimes if you got your camera on, but you don't have to. You could have a completely different name if you just want to come on here and chat with us. That's perfectly fine. We're not expecting anybody to, you know, do anything they don't want to do, but darn it, these could be fun and it could be a great way to learn and connect with folks. So consider it is all I'm saying.
This was great for me because I am going to have to start doing interviews soon, and I'm going to have to start talking professionally with Midnight and blah, blah, blah. So this helped me get a little more comfortable, and that's what I told
You dipped a toe.
I dipped a toe.
You did.
I do a lot of spaces, though, and they're the Midnight people, I got to be careful because the XRP community, they hate freaking Charles, and I just can't handle the trolls. But I'll be there. And see if you can click on that link. I don't know if it worked. I did drop it in the chat, but I think I dropped it in.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, because this chat, the live chat will disappear as soon as it gets posted. So can you copy that, Melissa, and put it on your actual comments or on your X? And also, Keda.
It won't let me. It might let one of you guys copy it.
I think it's like
okay.
You could,
and then Keda, what time is your show tomorrow? I've never really been because I'm so like, I went on a Spaces once and I was like attacked within 2 seconds of talking.
Oh, no.
And so I've literally never been on a Spaces again. And I've like been terrified of all Spaces. And so I would love to like be involved in Spaces again. So what time is your Spaces?
I normally start at 7 p.m. East Central Standard Time.
Central? Okay.
And Central, yes. And just to let you know, my spaces are not like that. I don't stand for it. I tell people from the get-go. And no, we respect everyone in my spaces. I don't allow people to call people out of their names. I don't allow any of that. And they know I'll get them all the way together. Trust.
I mean, it was sort of flattering because they were like, "You must be an AI bot," and I was like, "No, I'm just a real person." But you know, thanks for the compliment, I guess.
Yeah. It's so funny. No, we have a good time. It's Thirsty Thursday, so you know you can bring your libations and come through and have a good time. Yeah, Thirsty Thursdays. So. You know, we started off tonight and we can piggyback into tomorrow because this was an amazing.
As I was saying, and that's what I was thinking.
Damn it.
As I was saying last night on the Dip a Toe show.
You know,
that fidgety guy, he does big spaces and he would I would love for all of us to go into his spaces. I mean, he literally
It would
holds
be so awesome. I
world
have no
world
problem with
record,
that. I
and
love those types of conversations.
and
So,
I got it.
Fidgety, if you
He said he
let us
followed
know.
me, but I don't think he did.
Is his name Fidgety on X? Because he was, I mean, well,
Sorry.
first of all, he gave me a ton of compliments, which was really kind. Thank you very much. And also, he was just so engaged and so interesting that I would love to
Absolutely.
follow him on X.
Um,
Is he
Yeah.
Fidgety on X?
Are you following me on X yet? And then I'll tag him.
I am.
Yeah,
looking.
I'm following you on X as well, Stephanie. So,
And
and the
so is
phone that I'm
CK.
using for this actual
CK followed me.
taping is where my X is. So once I get off of here, then I'll go ahead and follow you all back. And now,
I
optimistic,
think
you know,
y'all
I
are
already
looking
follow you.
in my hair.
So,
I had a lot of fun, Melissa. Thank you so
yes.
much, and for everybody
Thank
that
you.
hung out
You're
in the chat.
welcome.
That was great. And please join some spaces. I'm more of a space person than oh, look, he put it up there. It's at Fidgety Beast on X.
Awesome.
At Fidgety Beast. Okay. At Fidgety Beast.
And
Well,
DK's got a voice of an angel, y'all. Man, he can sing and play the guitar.
he'll have to come into karaoke when we do karaoke.
one night, and he floored us.
Mm.
Or join this conversation next Wednesday night at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Just
Or is that
saying.
8 p.m.
Yeah.
Eastern Time?
Oh yeah. Hit me up. I would love to have him come on. Come on next week. I don't have a show planned to figure out. So let me know
with my meme coin thing, and then maybe we can talk about what first doing in a week from now, because I literally created the token. I did the whole 9 yards, and I mean, I've had my own token before on a couple chains. I'm not even gonna talk about it, but this one looks like it's gonna be fun.
Oh, wait. We get to say goodbye to
Woo!
Brooke.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Bringing it home, my friend. Huh?
Brooke?
Sorry.
No, that's all right. We are just wrapping her up, but I'm glad you came back. Do you have any parting words? Well, everyone was rave reviews, and we would love to have you back again, Brooke. But do you have any parting words for the listeners?
Man, it's like I always say this, but we are living in interesting times. And again, like, be careful about tribalism. Like, something that very rarely is talked about is the internet of value, the network of value that is being built. It's all of these are going to do and be used in different ways. And Metcalfe's law, the more they're used, like, it's all about adoption. And the more the tech is used, so of course you're going to be like wanting your project to like get its market share and stuff like that. So, but it's going to be multi-chain, and a bunch is happening, but keep your eyes, ears open. Always research, do your own research. And yeah, that's about it.
Brooke, that's I missed my spiel, but I was saying the same thing. We got to get rid of the tribalism and partner chains. It's not about XRP. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all love our XRP and our XLM, but it's not going to work unless we bridge, man. We make jokes about how XRP is so interoperable with all these other chains, but as soon as we start talking about operating with other chains, people are like, "Oh, I don't want to." So yeah, it's
a system. It's going to be an entire
ecosystem
that is interoperable.
It's
the more it's used. I don't know why there's so much fighting.
Together we are strong. And World Mobile Token's one of my big ones too. You guys, they have a logo. Together we are unstoppable. Connected.
We can't fight for peace. I just wanted to say, Melissa, like, it's been 6 months since I've been on any kind of YouTube like conversation. And I was nervous, and I haven't like talked about, in public, like, other than my TikToks, my truth in TikToks, but I've been put that on hold, and that like, it really just I really want to reiterate how valuable you are. I think that being part of your show is being part of history in the making, and that you are such an incredible person. And I just value you in so many ways, like you have no idea. And that, you know, I'm just so proud of you. And like, I know that this little show you have is such a benefit to humanity, and that, you know, it's just truly an honor to be a participant and have my little face next to your face on your little icon, and, you know, keep shining that big bright light that you are in this crazy dark world.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love all
I
of you
do have
guys.
to also I do have to also say one of the things that I love about you, Melissa, is your hope for humanity. It is so evident in you. It is such a beautiful part of you. I pray that you never lose that. Never ever lose that.
You guys are awesome.
Thanks,
And
Melissa.
Evie.
All of these ladies together. I've met some new people. I've made some new friends, and y'all keep shining your light.
And with that, I think that's a great ending to the Dip a Toe show. You guys, please hit that like button on the way out. Like, share, and subscribe. Help us grow our channel. And come back here next week. Same time, same bat channel. Have a good rest of your day.